Hello, hello. Welcome to the show.
I swear my hairline gets further and further back in that picture.
This one's okay, though.
Yeah, that one's good.
Okay.
That one I'm getting balder. I don't know why.
Oh, excellent.
I swear I went from a 4-head to a 6-head.
I don't know. Have you looked in the mirror lately?
Hey, be nice.
This isn't hair. You don't have the same hair you did 25 years ago, buddy.
No, I know. Oh, damn old age.
Sorry. It's making a note. So another episode of the Horror Rumble. We got a brand new topic thing happening here tonight.
It's a gimmick.
There we go. It's the Wheel of Horror. And I guess we can bring everybody on before you explain how it goes.
All right. You want to say hi to everybody?
Oh, yeah. In the chats, of course, who's been waiting patiently. We got our good buddy Orc.
What's up, Orc?
We got our good friend Zombie. How you doing?
Hello.
Or Gypsy, if you will. Billy Bean.
What's up?
And, of course, Big T. Always nice to see y'all.
Yeah, Big T asked me a question somewhere in there.
Let me see if I can find it. That was earlier. Here we go. Kory Ross, when are you going to start that music channel?
Yeah, no plans on starting a music channel. However, the thought of doing a show about music on here has crossed my mind. So if I ever get the guts to actually do it, maybe I will.
And Jessica from Manifesting Fear.
Hey, what's up, Jessica?
Thank you for coming. All right. I think we're caught up for the moment. Who are we bringing on? I guess we'll just go in the order they're coming. Hold on. The Cable Channel 11 Horror Rumble Trivia Champion, Daniel Shine from Flesh Wound Features.
What's up, guys?
Rating
and defending. Yeah. How are you guys doing? I'm excited. I haven't been able to come on in a while. We keep having these pesky Sunday wrestling shows that keep getting in the way, but I actually got done in time for once.
Well, I'm glad it happened because we have missed you. You haven't been on. And you're a staple here.
Yes.
On the Horror Rumble.
Thank you. All that wrestling stuff. But yeah, glad to be back.
Not to mention this weekend, double the Rumble, double the fun.
Yes. It's a weekend of Rumbles. So yeah. We'll see who wins tonight. I don't know. It's not really a competition, but we all fight.
No, but it should be fun. Should be fun. Something totally new and different. And speaking of trivia champions, while he is not the ultimate champion against Dan, he is the runner-up in that, and he did win one of the trivia nights. So, ladies and gentlemen, visited by voices and author Lorne Dixon.
I don't understand why I don't have a second ear in that drawing. I have one sticking off the side of my head way too high, but then this.
Yeah, there's two ears there. You're right. Now that you pointed out, you look like Sloth. It was the head was just supposed to be tilted slightly. I'm sorry.
I gotta say,
of Cable Channel.
Post-stroke.
I don't know what that means, but
ours are not any better.
I will say that Horror Rumble sort of sounds like a dating site for horror movie fans. I don't, considering the other people in the squares, I'm not very happy with that decision. So.
I would not be either. I understand, but I do like that.
I think that's the problem. It's all dudes. I know they've tried that a couple times, but it'll be like 1 million dudes, and then there's like 6 women. So
Yeah, and you get carpal tunnel from the amount of swiping lefts there, right?
Oh, that's why. Okay. Well, thanks for coming on, Lorne. You are as well. Actually, all these guys.
Yeah.
Except we do have somebody new to the Horror Rumble. We'll get to that, but
nice.
Just out of the factory. They just assembled them at
just
IKEA.
out of the factory. So, is he next?
Yes,
Kory,
he's
who's
next.
Oh, well then. He has appeared on Cable Channel 11, but he has not appeared on the Horror Rumble. Our good buddy Chris from Slasher Home Video. Welcome.
You're muted, Chris.
You're muted.
My long haired brother over here. So
What's going on, guys? Sorry about the mutage.
That's okay.
It happens. We're
Someday
pretty
I'll
laid
get
back here.
Someday
Lord
I'll
knows
get
all
a
about it.
someday I'll get a character though, right, Jess?
Oh yeah,
The next Horror Rumble you were on, you should have a character.
They'll just
Yes.
add hair to mine and give it to you.
It was a debate because
That's
you
the
know
budget here.
That'll work.
you've been on the channel twice now, I think, at least on an open bar and the Scarefest special. So,
yeah.
yeah.
But this is
but
the
yes,
Rumble.
I promised you the
Yeah.
next Rumble you will have a caricature. I'm not so sure you want one though.
Now Lorne's muted.
Totally intentional.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Hey Chris, yeah, be careful because you might show up with one eye and no nose.
I mean, it can't be worse than this. So.
Yeah. Christian thinks his looks like it has an arm going up his butt, his own
It
butt.
does.
That's just 'cause comparing with the mirror.
You can't tell because he's always got the headphones on, so you had to guess. It was artistic license. I'm behind it.
Oh, Big
Dude,
T thinks
well,
that would be awesome, Kory. And Mike, the real fifth Beatle. Hey, buddy, it's high and by. Yeah, it's 2:30 a.m. over there, across the seas.
Quitter.
All right, we got one
more guy.
One more guy, last but not least. You all know him, the famous Jay the Stingray.
He's ready to mug us all.
Hell yeah.
Hey, to bust some caps.
And his teal blue Stingray shirt.
I'm telling you, wait till you get to the Saturday morning cartoon.
What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
Glad to be here.
Oh,
It's been a while since I've been on as well. I know you guys have done a few shows without me.
That's true.
It's a pesky Sundays.
Life.
Band's
You know.
back together, so it's all good.
Got a great group tonight. Great show.
Yeah,
Got
I'm
some
excited. This
interesting
is a cool
topics, too.
concept. Yeah.
Well, let's get to it. Kory, do you want to explain this concept?
okay. So Jess found a digital wheel that
Ben.
we're going to be using, and we asked everybody to throw out a couple of topics or movies that wouldn't normally be discussed. So we're going to spin the wheel, and basically for each person, that's how many times we're going to spin the wheel and land on a topic, and that's what we're going to discuss. So
Go ahead and bring
And
that
there
wheel
it
up.
is.
The Wheel of Horror. And should we go ahead and read off the topics tonight?
yeah, let's
For
do
those
that.
of you who are watching the Blu-ray on your phone. We've got, and I believe, concept versus execution, 976 Evil movies. Those are yours, Kory?
Yes.
Okay. And Hellfest and Divide by Zero. Those are my topics. Black Noon, not Cannibal Holocaust. Those are Lorne's topics. Are we too hard on movies and disturbing behavior? Those are Chris's topics. Horror movies that never had a Blu-ray and Julian Sand's work. Those are Dan's topics. And unconventional weapons in horror movies and social commentary in horror films. Those are Jay's topics. All right.
Sounds good.
None of these can get us into any trouble.
I don't know.
There's a couple that could go. Yeah.
Curmudgeon's Day. Oh,
I feel
okay.
like Jess raided my closets for his topics.
Black.
No, they were good. Honestly, I had disturbing behavior up there, and then when Chris gave me his today, which I have a
Really?
whole list. I have a list. I was like, oh, hell yeah.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
Great minds, Jess. Great minds.
Yes, sir. We've noticed that on a couple things lately
I know.
that we share. So, did you explain how are we going around, Kory? Who's going first?
Well, why don't we just go ahead and spin the wheel and see what topic we land on, and
Do you have
go
like a
from there.
punishment one? Like you land on it, then you have to reveal an embarrassing secret or break your finger on camera or
Or
something.
take off your hat.
Oh,
Oh,
that'll
See,
get
Dan.
the,
Make a
Dan
note.
leaves the stream.
Just make a
that'll
note.
get the YouTube clicks.
We'll make sure we put that one on the next one.
I don't think we can afford that episode. All right, I guess I'll spin the wheel, or unless somebody else wants to, but you can't.
You want to do a practice spin so everybody can hear the cool little sound it
Pretend,
makes?
just give it a.
No, we'll just go with it
All right.
because I think that'd be kind of cheating if something comes up and then we're like, not that one. Sorry.
You got to put a Vanna White in the corner there somehow. I don't know.
Hey
who
man,
that
I'm not
would
that.
be.
Why don't we
yeah,
just get a Vanna White?
You might be able to afford Vanna White now.
We could probably get Vanna then.
Why she
All
got
right.
to be
With a
white?
gif of Vanna White.
It doesn't have to be.
Spinning the wheel.
All right.
No whammy.
All of the old bastards in the chat will.
Oh,
Oh, it's a good start.
Oh, look at that.
Not Cannibal
Nice.
Holocaust.
Production
Nice.
value, baby.
Yeah. Not sure about that font, but it was a very cool thing.
Hey, this is all thanks to wheelofnames.com. Check it out.
Wheel of Names.
Sans
So-
New Roman.
Sans serif. So we talk a lot about Cannibal Holocaust when we talk about Italian films. It always comes up, and someone will talk about the animal cruelty, and it becomes this big discussion about everything. But the movies that inspired it and the movies that were inspired by it. And there was a lot of these. I think most people might not even be aware just how many were produced over the years. Basically, from 72 to about 85, the bulk of them come out. There's a few like retreads after that, but that's most of them. It all starts with Mondo Cane coming out from Cavara and Jacopetti, which was kind of the first time a lot of people saw really graphic violence that was real in a movie theater. And people lined up in the cities across the world for it. So it basically invaded, fictional film, starting with Man from Deep River from Umberto Lenzi in 72.
Yeah.
And that film is much subtler than most people give it credit for. It actually kind of, I'd almost call it literary in its approach. And then you kill some live alligators on screen. But Cannibal Holocaust comes out and is a worldwide phenomenon in the cities. There's grindhouses in New York that played it for a year. It's hard to understand that a little film like that, with all the controversy coming with it, could have been as important in a small way to those grindhouses as, say, Halloween or Friday the 13th was to the mainstream suburban cinemas, but it absolutely was. And, Cannibal Holocaust leads to Cannibal Ferox and Mangiati Vivi, Jungle Holocaust, Trap Them and Kill Them, Emmanuel and the Last of the Cannibals, Cut and Run, Slave of the Cannibal God, from Sergio Martino, mind you.
Slave of the Cannibal God's a good one.
It's an awesome one. Massacre in Dinosaur Valley, White Cannibal Queen, Primitive, White Slave, Papaya, Love Goddess of the Cannibals, Infernal Paradise. And that's the ones I just was able to scroll out from memory, giving myself a little bit of time to warn. If I Googled, I'm sure there's at least a dozen more.
Mm-hmm.
There was this entire movement that I would relate to almost like the glossy Scream ripoffs in a way, in that like one film caused an entire wave that kind of looked and felt the same. Well, that's very much what happened with these films. A lot of them look and feel very similar, and even aficionados of Italian cinema sometimes have trouble telling them apart. But it's interesting that really, at the end of the day, a little bit Cannibal Ferox, but mainly it's just Cannibal Holocaust is the only one we discuss. So I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how many of these have you seen, what you feel about the whole field, and maybe its legacy a little bit. Because there's obviously a couple of years ago, Eli Roth tried to resurrect it in his own way.
Yeah, Green Inferno. Yeah,
Maybe other than Dan. Sorry, Dan. I was going to
Oh, no,
say
go ahead.
you probably nailed it. I don't think I've heard of most of these except Cannibal Holocaust. So that is fascinating. Probably not surprising to you that I haven't.
Yeah, I've
Well,
heard of Cannibal Ferox or whatever, but I've never seen any of them.
Yeah, maybe Jungle Holocaust, but
Well, the benefit of that, though, guys, is you get to actually dive in and experience them for the first time. It is that I say this a lot, but they don't make them like that anymore, and they can't. Yeah, you got what you got. Yeah, you got what you got, and there are some variations. Like there's one I always throw out there when people ask like that want to dip their toes but don't want anything too hardcore. And I believe Lorne mentioned it there. Michel Massimo Tarantini's Massacre in Dinosaur Valley, starring Michael Sopke. It's more of an adventure film. It was kind of like let's take the Italian cannibal films, mix them with Indiana Jones and some sexploitation in there, and just get this wacky little entertaining mix. Not the best, but they did try and kind of keep it. That's getting kind of towards the end of the cycle there. But I do throw that one out as a entry point if you don't want to see turtles brutalized. But
that directly led to Cut and Run and Infernal Paradise. Those two are very similar in their approach of mercenaries and going to save the kidnapped person.
Yeah.
I would actually say that Slave of the Cannibal God is probably the best film of the series. It's on the whole, it's what best acted. It gets its exploitation elements kind of in the right places. It's definitely excessive, but it's not like Cannibal Ferox that if you remove those elements, there wouldn't be a movie.
Yeah, I agree. Slave of the Cannibal God, I mean, also had Stacy Keach and Ursula Andress in them. It was definitely the I guess kind of as close as you would get to A-list for an Italian cannibal movie. That's definitely near the top. I always loved Man from Deep River. People argue over who's the king of the Italian cannibal, but Umberto Lenzi, of course, I mean, really, I think gets that crown at the end of the day. I think
he made 3 of them, so I mean, in the prime time, because there's the one later, but we don't talk about that.
That is true. And Cannibal Holocaust, I think part of it, it's found some new life in the mainstream also from people who sort of put 2 and 2 together that, oh, wait, no, Blair Witch isn't the first found footage movie. So I think that adds to it. I think the hysteria around the, Ruggiero being brought up on murder charges and all those stories. But there's a lot to explore there. In some ways, ashamed to say that I've seen every single one, as far as I'm aware, certainly from that original run. And there is something about
Gremlins
them.
in the works tonight, guys.
Gremlins?
Seems like we're all having internet problems.
Oh, am I having internet troubles?
Just
something.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, maybe I have too many windows open. But I thought you wanted to pitch like a Gremlins crossover where we're seeing like.
Oh my god!
I was hearing you clear. Does anybody else?
Gizmo in the jungle.
Gizmo in the jungle. Yeah, just with a pike rammed up his ass. There you go. Like,
oh my!
You have all you '80s kids. I got something for you.
Steak probably never even seen the movie either.
Phoebe Cates would probably do it at this point too.
Steak shits on James Cameron. Never seen the Terminator movie. So
I shit on Jim Cameron, but I've seen them.
I know you have.
Dan, you mentioned Stacy Keach.
Yeah.
Didn't he also play in like the Mike Hammer movies or something?
Oh
Or
yeah,
TV
Mike
show or something?
Hammer, Fat City. I mean, he's a great actor.
Cheech and
That one
Chong
is
movies.
weird. Yeah,
Nice
it is.
configuration for William Peter Blatty.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Road Games with Jamie
Oh, yeah.
Lee Curtis.
Titus,
which is-
the sitcom.
yeah, he's done all kinds. He can
Cheech
do
and
anything.
Chong up in
Well,
Nice
the
Dreams.
reason I brought that
Nice
up is
Dreams, yeah.
because somebody from our hometown didn't. I'm blanking on the name.
Mike, he did since he did Mike Hammer, the creator of Mike Hammer and Mike Danger, or Mike Hammer. It's
Oh,
Mickey
okay.
Splain.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, he's not from our hometown, but his basically the guy who Mickey left all his stuff to, Max Allen Collins. He's a writer,
Mhm.
done some low budget movies, did the Dick
Oh, nice.
Tracy comic strip for a couple decades.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, he's an amazing actor. And I mean, you could kind of debate what the best one is. They are very similar, not to the level that like Nudie Cuties, where they're literally the same movie in that subgenre, but they're very close. Slave of the Cannibal God, if you want to watch a great one that's still rough but not Cannibal Holocaust level rough, that is a good entry point. And if you want the goofy but fun, I am a fan of them, adventure type Commando mashups, Massacre in Dinosaur Valleys, also really good. Another one I will throw out there that is kind of mislabeled to a certain degree as a Italian cannibal film, but is still, I mean, it is, but it's different. Is Antonio Margheriti's 1980, I believe it was, film with John Saxon and Giovanni Lombardo Radice, Cannibal Apocalypse. I believe it's got a few titles. Cannibal in the Streets might be one.
Mondo. Yeah.
Cannibal Mondo, yeah. That's a really good movie as well from the great Antonio Margheriti. If you're a Tarantino fan, you've seen that thrown around.
It's much more of a police standoff movie than anything else.
It is. It's there's a lot that towards the end of that cycle, it's like, well, let's try and capitalize on cannibals, even if it's not a cannibal film. So you guys should dive in. There's nothing quite like them. And yeah.
And it'll scare your neighbors.
It'll definitely scare your neighbors.
Well, Ben Grimm says he remembers. Oh, go ahead, Jay.
No, go ahead.
Well, you have a thought?
No, go ahead.
Well, he remembers his first watch of Cannibal Holocaust. A friend got a bootleg of it and was told it was a banned movie in America that shows real death. It was kind of like, don't tell anybody we're watching this movie. Like the FBI would rate them.
Yeah, I have a memory of that too. Like everybody talks about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and like my memory of it is Texas Chainsaw Massacre was considered like based on a true story, maybe, but I remember Cannibal Holocaust. People thought it was a snuff film, like I guess just because that rumor carried, and people
Like
didn't
guinea pig
think
or
about it. So
yeah. That is a great turtle prop. Wow.
I saw it on a bootleg as well originally on VHS. But then many years later, I guess probably 10 years after I saw it initially, Exhume Films in Philadelphia actually showed it on 35 in our theater. And seeing a Cannibal Holocaust on the big screen is with a crowd, like a sold out crowd, is an experience. I can tell you, because the film does not lose its power when it's projected that big on a wall.
Yeah. What was did you watch Green Inferno, Lauren? I don't know if you ever
did. I went to a matinee of Green Inferno the weekend it was out, because it was really only out a weekend before the movie was gone.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think if you're a big enough fan of the subgenre, we understand that there's real love there for it. Yeah. Is it good? No. Is it horrible? It's not even the worst thing of the list I gave you, frankly. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things that ballsy to even try and make one now. Yeah. So like all kinds of credit to you. But it might be one of those things that's not even worth trying at the end of the day. It just sounds like a good idea. So yeah. I don't hate it. I don't own it. I don't intend to own it. It's not important to me.
I wasn't a fan.
It's a good. It has its moments. I'll put it that way. And I don't think she ever did another convention, but the Brazilian actress who played the head of the tribe.
That's his
Yeah.
ex-wife.
No. Yeah, his
Oh.
ex-wife is in there, but I'm talking the cannibal lady.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was at. I don't know if it was Monster Mania or Chiller. They all run together to me, but did not really speak English at all. And just seemed like horrified. Like, where am I? Like at the convention. It was hilarious. I have a picture of her back there on the wall. So she kind of had her own, like, wow, these people are real kind of moments there. But yeah, no, dive into them. You may want to start off light again before you hit Cannibal Holocaust, but start with Slave of the Cannibal God for something a little more authentic, and then you can hit Cut and Run, Massacre in Dinosaur Valley. Some of the, I hate to say lighter, they're still nasty, but definitely lighter on the real death.
And I just want to point out that both of them kind of, the Mondo aspect is definitely a huge aspect, but on the underlying, like, kind of Lost Tribe, Safari Gone Wrong thing that is at the core of these movies, that same fear is nothing new. In the 30s, there's two films, Black Moon and Congo, that are absolutely templates for them without all the attendant violence. But I would say Congo is actually probably grimier than most of these movies in its own way. And you shouldn't sleep on it. It's a mean-spirited, gross, angry film. And Black Moon is just a brilliant Fay film if you ever want to see a disturbing film about the influence of voodoo, even though the voodoo in the film is not real.
Yeah, it's interesting to go back and kind of see that progression to the films you're a little more familiar with, most likely.
Yeah, the white people in the jungle have a bad day subgenre.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Only
Zombie.
us two, though. Only
Yes.
us.
Yes, fuck me all else.
What am I, chopped liver?
That's an expensive meat, sir. I don't think
I still love you.
But yeah, I was going to say briefly, I've seen quite a few of the ones you guys mentioned, basically just as a checklist, you know, so I can at least talk about them, but not really for me in particular. But the unfortunate thing about Cannibal Holocaust is whenever it gets brought up, it's like immediately to the animal torture. And it's just so negative on that. And obviously I think all of us, you know, we're not cool with that, you know, but it's done. You can't take it away, you know, and like Dan beat me to it, saying it was really the first found footage movie, or one of, you know, so it's really, you know, needs to be a little higher regarded than it is. But yeah, I love the grindhouse aspect of it. Would you guys consider Anthropophagus a cannibal movie?
I was kind of wondering that.
I think this very specific subgenre is so heavy in its tropes that I consider that outside of it. I consider that more similar, like that's part of that whole European grimier slasher monster thing that was going on for about 3 years there, right at the turn of that decade, from the 70s to the 80s. Great film. I just wouldn't consider it part of this because these films are pretty prototypical of each other, right? They don't vary a whole lot.
Yeah. And so basically what caused this whole thing was the success of Cannibal Holocaust, right? It being such a huge success that they did a bunch of rip-off films.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not the first one, because 1972 was Man from Deep River. So
oh, okay.
A lot of times
to be fair there, like that's the original release of Man from Deep River in Italy. It doesn't come to America for like 5 years. So it's and the marketing on Man from Deep River when it came here was it was kind of portrayed as a Western of all things, which is kind of bizarre too. But
sounds like it should be a Western.
Well, I mean, eventually we got some Westerns that were kind of like it, I guess, right?
So. Yeah. I don't think they ever quite found a way to do like a spaghetti western cannibal flick, but if there were some way to pull that off, that'd be
Ravenous.
pretty cool. Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, I guess I should say more like Django in the jungle. That might be
Yeah, I don't think
fun
it's
little
just
thing.
if cannibalism is a part of the film that it doesn't fall into this subgenre, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah,
But who hasn't, Ben?
it happens sometimes. You're hungry.
If nothing else, veal is tasty.
Then doesn't he eat a baby? Goodness sakes.
And on that note, we should probably spin the wheel.
And
Okay.
most of these are on Blu-ray. Most are on Blu-ray or DVD, so they're pretty well represented. You can find them.
Final words. Good topic nonetheless. I love this that, a lot of different things can be brought to the wheel because most of our shows revolve around one specific topic. So this is fun. And I gotta find the wheel. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay, I had removed the not cannibal holocaust topic. We are ready to spin again.
Jay, would you like to buy a vowel?
Yes. I please.
No one chooses I.
Ah, shit.
Social commentary and horror films.
Jay, you fucked the stream up, man.
What you mean?
I was telling Jess, I was like, well, if you got to pick one, just pick the first one I gave him. But this is basically a topic that I had been talking to Andrew Devon Graham like a year and a half ago about, and we were going to do a show. It just never happened. But this is basically social commentary and horror films, the social commentary fitting into the story versus fitting the commentary into the story. So basically, something that organically works, from the get-go, or they just take a previous script and throw a bunch of social commentary aspects into it. So basically, like Get Out, I would consider that like, social commentary is worked into the film, from the get-go, versus like a Black Christmas remake where they just kind of, added it on the back end, so I don't know if you guys had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, you're basically saying I don't like it where it's thrown in unnaturally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Would you go? I mean, social commentary has probably been around as far as film goes since the beginning.
Sure.
George Romero was heavy on even pointing it out that he had social commentary, especially in Dawn of the Dead in the 70s.
Yeah. He kind of says it was an accident in the first movie, right? Like
the first movie, he says it was an accident. The second movie was obviously consumerism, wasn't it?
The end of that movie, did they shoot him because he was black or because they thought he was a zombie?
Because they thought he was a zombie is all.
Yeah.
That's what I always thought too. It never even occurred to me.
My take has always been that it was just about the mob mentality and they were going to shoot anything at that point.
Yeah.
And that it's the groupthink had overtaken like any rational decision making about dealing with this problem. But yeah, the racial component, because it's there's no way to read it any other way, whether it was intended or not. And that happens with great art. I think Night of the Living Dead, sometimes people slag on it and talk about the sequels being better. I think they missed the lightning in the bottle that is that movie. It's amazing that film is the masterpiece it is.
Sometimes it's better to just let magic happen. I mean, sometimes these films, yes, Dwayne was just the best actor. But nonetheless, there is something powerful about a black character slapping a white woman in the 60s like that. I mean, my God, you didn't see that. But nowadays, I feel there's so many movies that just try and like get it in. And that's like their goal going in.
Well, I think that's even more why it was so powerful, because if it wasn't intentional, it didn't feel intentional to me, or doesn't.
Yeah.
When I've watched it, maybe in the 60s it did.
Sure. No, it's Night of the Living Dead is timeless. It's one of the all-time great horror films. For
sure.
However it happened. But, you see movies nowadays, I'm very harsh on Blumhouse. And it's not every movie, and they have had a few decent ones recently, but where it's just like we're just throwing references in there to like just hammer. Freaky, I think, is a really good example. I know people like that movie. I hate it.
I
know
never
what.
saw it because you guys all hated it.
Well, we didn't all hate it, in fairness. Like,
Yeah,
actually,
I like
other
it.
question.
Oh, did you?
There you go. Yeah, it's not universally hated, but there's a lot of like, okay, we got to hit the bathroom debate, which again, you can write a script around that. You can hit any point you want to hit, any political point you want to hit, if you have good writing. I really don't care, honestly. A lot of the debate over these things, like, okay, cool, if it's compelling, go for it. But there's, I don't know, it's very rare that we get social commentary done right in modern horror films, at least modern studio horror films.
I think the reason for that is because, like, if you take, like, They Live is one I go to a lot when I talk about good social commentary. It's a kind of a universal commentary that John Carpenter, like, wanted to tell. But now it's like guys in a boardroom saying, like, okay, what's hot now? Is it, trans? Is it gay? We got to make a movie about that. And let's make one. Go manufacture one. And it comes before. I mean, it's the reason the movie exists.
That's the problem. Like,
you can
having
taste
that
that in your
concept.
mouth while you're watching it. Like,
yeah,
it's so night and day between something like They Live or like of the Dead movies and this shit, where it's just like, we're here to let you know that we are on the right side of things.
And you see how it progressed to Land of the Dead, where the social commentary doesn't work at all. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, George Bush.
Oh, that's right.
Rumsfeld and Bush. And yeah, we get it.
Don't like that.
And it takes you away from the movie. The fun. No, it doesn't impact you as much.
I guess what disturbs me about the amount of bad films being written, period, even outside this debate, but I'm going to bring it right back to it, I promise, is just that
Good night,
the horror genre, since it's based in social fears anyway, should be able to do this painlessly. It's already baked in. Like, what we're scared of are our social anxieties are what make horror films great. If we weren't actually afraid in our real lives, I promise you none of this would affect us on screen. But because we relate to it and the exaggerations that are being transposed, it seems that decent writers should be able to make this work, whether it is about a haunted house that's really about a mortgage payment, whether it's about a guy in a mask breaking into your house at night, whether it is about sending your kids away to a summer camp and not getting them back. This shouldn't be hard. Even the movie The Faculty is kind of obsessive about the idea of what is your kids learning at school, right? So it should be baked in. Good writing should be able to use these, and we shouldn't be having this annoyed conversation about the amount of slogateering in horror movies, the amount of just pandering. I'm a firm believer that you should have the right characters for the right movie. You don't have a movie about an alligator in a sewer and make the main character a dentist, because there's no good reason he'd be in that sewer. And you're going to have to write in circles to get him down there, right? But a sewer worker, that makes sense. So John Sayles is the man because he figured out how to get a cop and a sewer worker into a sewer to meet the alligator. So if you want to tell this story and you want to attack one of the hot button issues of the day, just as George Romero or John Carpenter or any of the great filmmakers that have populated this genre, it really shouldn't be a tough thing. Just start with the story and make sure all the elements belong to begin with. Don't try and glom elements onto something to try and make it relevant. Start with a story that is relevant and then build it organically. And then, even if I completely disagree with your message, I'm not going to care. I'm going to say, hey, that was a fun movie. And there are some of my favorite movies that have very different political and social opinions than me. And they're absolutely some of my favorites because they just rock. And I'm going to shut up because I've talked too long.
Well, I'd like to, and I'm not trying to take up a lot of the time, but I just thought about this too. There's another side of this that has always stuck with me, and it's the like. I just use Black Christmas because I remember this argument from a long time ago I had about that movie. And the guy said his argument was, well, the original Black Christmas was feminist. And it's like, yeah, it was, but it was about like empowering women. And the 2019 one is about attacking men. So you have these two different, like, if you show me a movie about a empowered woman, I'm cool. But when you start attacking men, that's extreme.
In a very stupid way, too. For that one, yeah.
It being horribly made didn't help, but also it was very exclusionary. It was very negative. It wasn't saying like women are strong. It was saying men are shit and they're the cause of all our problems. And that's like the wrong kind of politics. That's extreme politics. That movie was like a propaganda film almost. For radical feminists. And if you try to sell that to somebody and say, well, the first one was feminist, it's like, that's two different things. You know,
I don't think Bob Clark, I don't think that was the first thing that went through his mind. Black Christmas, the original, is brilliant. I don't think
it's there again, it comes out naturally.
Because it's college-age women during the sexual revolution. It makes sense. It's the right characters in the right story.
Yes. Yeah. If you want an example of about maybe even worse than Black Christmas 2019, pop on, and you don't even need to watch it, just pop on the first episode of Velma, which might be the first thing ever that everybody hates. It doesn't matter what your politics are.
Saw enough in the trailer and nothing to do with politics.
It's
pretty
like bad.
Set a record for like the worst rating of a show ever, I think.
I think there were people like that you would expect would like it that I saw on social media. It's like, well, we finally came together on something. Velma sucks. So that's a good example in terms of just writing. You can get any point across you want with good writing.
That's just the worst container for those ideas. So when you have something like Scooby-Doo that brought everyone together, every kid that was alive between 68 and 70, I don't know, whatever year they introduced Scrappy Doo, I'm going to put that as the end of it. Everyone loves Scooby-Doo. Those characters were archetypes, but it all worked. Kids could relate to it no matter where they came from. And that, I thought, was the whole idea. To make a show about differences. I don't know. It seems like exactly the opposite of what Scooby-Doo was to me.
Well,
and that makes me sad because
I wouldn't cramp it into just that 68 to honestly up until now.
Well, that's what I was going to say too, because I mean the reruns ran when I was a kid, right? So I saw the original run when I was a kid, and then my kids watch the same thing. You know, like it's still on like Boomerang and networks like that.
The original, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Yeah, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You is amazing. 13 Ghosts is hit or miss, but after that, I don't like anything.
It changes quite a bit, but it's amazing how well the originals hold up.
Yeah.
There's also another side to all this, and that is the audience and what they read into it on their own. And look at Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and all of a sudden, they're the gay community's clamoring to claim that that's a gay movie, and they completely leave out the last scene in the movie, which shows that it's the love of a woman that saves him, and not the fact that he wanted to go spend the night with his best friend instead of have sex with his girlfriend.
Gross. No, he needs a lady.
But I mean, the audience itself can
make it.
The audience itself can create its own social commentary for anything that they want. They can read anything into anything. And
there's also a lot of movies where it's like, that is just kind of what you ended up with. It's not always on purpose. It's just, that's that weird little movie that you ended up getting. That I know a lot of people love Nightmare on Elm Street too. I kind of keep expecting that I'll revisit it one day and then it'll be way up there for me. I get it. I'm
I've
still it's
never
still
liked
kind
it
of
too
low
much.
for me.
It
but,
took me a while to
Yeah.
come around to that one. But
Did any of you guys get all the gay stuff when you saw it the
Nope.
first time? Me
I thought it
either.
was
I got some
comedic.
of
I
it.
mean, it was all over my head.
I didn't
I
know
got
what a
some of it.
leather bar was when I was like 5.
Sure,
You
sure.
know?
Yeah, but did you think of it as gay or just more like a
Like
S&M
a punk
club?
rock. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Or
thought
punk
it
rockish
was
when you're really little.
Right.
I
Well,
don't think
I
it's.
mean,
I don't
yeah.
think that it's not there. I think it's just. I view it much like I view Bride of Frankenstein, which like is iconic among the gay community too, and I'm glad they have it because the message works for them. But it's about outsiders. Period. I think that the Jesse character being sexually confused or finding his identity, all that's way legitimate, and I wish they'd written a better film around it. But I think that I don't think it's as simple as what people tend to just simplify it into now. And I think that's where you're right. People can read too deeply or can really, I don't know, attach their own desires, their own their own prejudices into a film to such a degree they're looking for more meaning than necessarily is. I think in a general sense, like in a macro sense, films do have points of view.
Yeah.
But in the horror genre, I think if you look for every scene to mean something, you're missing the point of the dramatic structure. It's not going to work that way. But whatever. I think it's a horrible film. I don't like any of those sequels. I love the original.
You'll see some people too that look for deeper meaning in like old exploitation films. It's like the Blood Island films. It's like, well, they're really about the exploit, and I'm like, no, they're just fun exploitation.
Sometimes
films.
what's the phrase? Sometimes a pig is a pig. There's nothing to analyze or whatever.
I think
there's
most
still-
times that's the case.
Most-
yeah.
yeah,
I think there's still a reason we react to what we react to. So I think that it's worth exploring to some degree, but you have to be careful not to read your own prejudices and what you either love or hate into a film just because you want to come to that conclusion. I think there is a reason why some things resonate with us and other things don't resonate with us. And I think the more thought or accidental creation that kind of means something to you, the better off the film is going to be as far as your rewatchability or even how much you remember it. Whenever you guys have said, and I know you've all probably said it at some point, I don't remember. I know I've seen it, but I don't remember a thing about that movie. That means there was nothing in that movie that resonated with you at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst case scenario. I'd rather hate a movie than not remember it. Unless it's Aliens.
Point.
Because it at least, resonated with something, whether it was, like you said, anger or disgust, whatnot.
Yeah.
And going back to the social commentary part about throwing in, again, on purpose, I find some of these older films when they talk about, oh, we've got this female director and an all-female cast now, and it's like, well, did you forget the last 30, 40 years when we've had some really powerful leading women, or I hate whatnot, strong, and you didn't have to spell it out. You just kind of grew up as, oh yeah, that's a strong woman. That was a strong action star.
Yeah.
Not even specifically that it was a woman.
Yeah, but these same movies,
Just a strong person.
These same movies that we talk about and everything, that we're sitting here saying, well, that the final girl, shows that they're, women can be strong, or you can have a strong female lead or whatever. Those were the same movies that Siskel and Ebert were saying that were all about, the filmmakers hate women and they're just trying to cut them up and all this other crap.
Well, I don't think Siskel and Ebert watched those movies. I think they
didn't.
Were there ready to.
But they had a
shit on
platform that they could sit there and spew that kind of stuff. So,
Well, so film criticism for a long time was just opposed to exploitation in general, no matter what they claimed. They wanted it to be considered a high art because it had always been thought of as a kind of, I don't know, surface level commercial art, and they wanted its profile raised so that their own profile would be raised. Who's more respected, the restaurateur critic that's going to go to the $90 a plate restaurant, or the fast food blogger? And they didn't want to be the fast food blogger, so they had to hate it to keep their own profiles higher. And I thought when the internet came, a lot of that would die, but it's just shifted, and now we have a different sort of group think that is, I think, more destructive. I think reviewing films is actually counterproductive now.
Yeah.
Everyone has access to everything at a really low price. We don't need gatekeepers at all. We don't need anyone telling you what your opinion should be.
I think Siskel and Ebert giving bad reviews to a lot of those slasher movies probably helped them in the long run.
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
they definitely did. Yeah.
'Cause I know I saw them hate a movie. I was like, I'm going to see that tomorrow.
It must be good. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I never really respected Siskel or Ebert personally.
I mean, it's almost like Rotten Tomatoes now, almost with a lot of just horror movies in general. You can take the Rotten Tomatoes score and double it, and that's like its actual score.
Well, look at the critic score versus the audience score. It's ridiculous sometimes.
Yeah, no. Now you almost have to actually look at the review, because there is downvoting and there is some stuff that gets labeled woke that's not actually woke.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that too. In
Brings
fairness,
that up in the chat here. Was that Ben?
Well, I think that is a little bit of if you like knock me out a couple of times, then from there all you have to do is come up and and I'll flinch. I think that's a little bit of that, where people got so sick of it over those what was it, like 2018 to 2021 almost, it felt like was
there
the
was
big, like, you got so sick of it that, I mean, a lot of people probably every time they saw like Freaky, I don't think Freaky had that. It had dumb shit in it. It had the the chick coming first and turning the dude down, like that kind of stuff that was obviously there to, and it didn't bother me. It didn't ruin the movie, but for a lot of people it probably did, because they were just sick of seeing that stuff,
There's a lot too that will jump on stuff without seeing it. This is a book example, but there's a really controversial one on BookTube called The Dead Inside by Chandler Morrison. And there's a review out there that I thought was actually kind of warranted a lawsuit almost, where the reviewer goes on and on about how Chandler Morrison is clearly a pedophile. And I mean, it's really some offensive shit. And I could tell she didn't actually read the book. There's some unpleasant sexual stuff in that. It's really more, I mean, it's more of an extreme sort of schlocky kind of thing. It's well written, but I could tell she didn't read it. So there are a lot of people that are just ready to pounce on something now, whether it's an actor that you don't like their politics or whatever. You can usually spot that when people haven't actually watched it, because they're just regurgitating the same shit. They won't give you anything super specific from the book or movie or whatever.
I just want to make it real clear that respect is huge for me, like for everyone and whatever decisions they make. I am a libertarian. I don't mean that in a political sense, although I am that too. I think everyone should be able to live the life that makes sense to them, as long as they're not hurting anyone else, period. That is my most important core value, actually. But that doesn't make a project good simply because you're espousing values that align with that. It still has to be a good song. It still needs to be a good book. It still needs to be a good film. And I get worried that we're so tribal with our beliefs today that we can't see past that and get back to what used to bring us together, whether it was Scooby-Doo or the original Friday the 13th. We just need to get to the point whereas we stop with the constant 180 character assaults. Just stop.
Yeah.
Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has bad opinions. Whatever.
Yeah. 100%. Any final thoughts on the social commentary? We went into that even heavier than I thought.
I know
Make
we've
good movies.
gone long already, so I won't say anything else.
If you got it, you got it. You got something. I mean, it was your
No,
topic. You got.
Well, I mean,
What were you thinking?
Very briefly, Dan, you remember the movie that we watched one night, the Bring It On horror movie?
Yeah, the slasher
guy.
one.
That's the kind of like the template. I mean, and it has been for the majority of my lifetime. Like it's got every race is represented. You know, there's like an Eskimo in there that's a cheerleader, and there, you know, and it's like there's like two gay characters, a male and a female, and they hitting every button. It's like do down the line. It's like it's not realistic, first of all, but
No,
I mean,
it's not.
it's just kind of ridiculous that's where we're at. In order to not offend anybody, you know, like we gotta throw one of those in there.
Well, it's becoming a trope now. It's just like the token
It is a
black
trope,
guy.
yeah, the
It's
big
like,
time trope.
It's just something that they have to do. I don't even notice it a lot of times anymore at this point. You're just so desensitized to it. It's like it adds nothing to it. It doesn't always take away from it necessarily, but it will get like that eye roll from you.
There are.
Time, you know?
I mean, it's great that there's more representation, of course, but there are also times where you look at certain casting, like Captain Marvel, I would say is a good example. Was Brie Larson really the best Captain Marvel that you could have picked? And she is a good actress, but she wasn't right for the role.
I would have picked her in a million years, man. And I actually like Brie Larson.
Great in Room. And
I mean, she's just a dramatic actress, you know, not a superhero. You know, you don't think of.
She was miscast.
Action star.
Yeah, she was miscast. So, I mean, as somebody who produced like a few super low budget things, I would take the best people that I could get. There is no checklist, like, especially at that level. I'm like, if that guy's better, I mean, number one, most roles are not specific for, at least for the shit that I wrote, for race, for example, it really wouldn't matter. And just cast the best people. Hopefully we'll get there someday where it just doesn't matter. You just cast the best people. There's plenty.
I think that's the answer. Is cast the best person for the role rather than okay, we need an Asian girl that can also play a lesbian.
Well, I was gonna say about that Ghost in the Shell movie with
that's a
like
Scarlett Johansson.
One thing I always wonder is how many Japanese people were the ones offended. I don't think any. They don't care.
The creator said there was no race.
Yeah,
it's a fictional.
That's not on there. Like, no Asian dude was like, I can't believe they cast a white girl. That was all white people projecting and getting offended for them, and that's another big problem. Is that these bored people with no lives getting offended for people?
Yeah,
and it's like.
A lot of times that group of people that supposedly are supposed to be offended aren't the ones that are offended.
Right.
Yeah.
Rarely they are. Yeah, rarely are they.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm offended that bald people don't survive horror movies. Give me an example when it happens.
Freddy keeps coming back, so.
But he's the villain.
Villains can be bald. That's definitely true, but.
When was
the last time you had a bald final girl?
Gotta represent burn victims.
Dang, I wish I could pull one out of my ass, but I can't.
A bald guy? Wait. No.
Whoa,
yeah, I
don't like where this is going at all. Again, Rumble sounds like a thing.
What you were doing before Showtime is.
Didn't Sigourney Weaver shave her head?
She didn't survive that film, though.
Oh, okay.
But she came back though.
Well, that was a clone.
No, she really didn't.
I mean,
they didn't make any films past the third film.
Reggie Bannister, S'mores Indoors, baby. Kory got it. Reggie survived 5. Well, yeah, 5 films.
No one survived that 5th film. I've seen that thing.
I think I'm the only person on the planet who doesn't hate that movie.
Oh, I don't hate it. I don't get the love for it, but.
Okay, not completely bald, but Jada Pinkett survived Demon Knight.
Nice.
Oh, there you go.
Big T probably had that question for me. A lot of the nudity in cannibal films isn't pleasant, but the Emmanuel and the Last Cannibal before I go, sir.
That was from the previous
I
topic.
freaking knew that was going to be the answer.
Mimi Lay also did some nudity. Man from Deep River.
Well, Ursula Andress covered in gold paint.
Yeah, that's actually probably, and if you're just judging the nude scenes, maybe that'll please the most people. But
There you go.
It's always there, but not always pleasant nudity.
Glad we could utilize your expertise, Dan.
There you go.
All right, Jess, you ready to spin the wheel again?
I'm going to catch up with the chat really quick.
There you go, Cliff. Nothing more feminist than killing that bitch.
Ben and Zombie, we're talking about Peele's movies when we were on the social commentary. Scooby is a government conspiracy? I don't know about that. Like zoinks. Cliff. Yeah, we said that earlier. Mystery Incorporated, I don't know if I would call that the best Scooby-Doo, but that's what I was kind of getting to earlier as far as some of the even newer ones have not been horrible versions of Scooby-Doo, and they've led the younger kids on, like my son, and you guys talked about your kids, nieces, and nephews watching the original Scooby-Doos because they don't see the age difference or how old the first one is because it's just Scooby-Doo to them. It's great. Zombie wants to know, Lorne, what you thought of Last of Us.
We'll have to go to the future to after I retire. I'm going to catch up on all the television, but I have not seen any of it.
I know Dan has seen the first 2 episodes.
Boo, Cliff. Boo.
Yeah, we're not going to go in the Feruza bulk discussion tonight.
Next Wheel of Horror, one of mine is going to be Feruza bulk.
There you go. I'm in.
We going yay or nay or what?
It's gotta be a yay all around. I love Feruza.
Come on. And a cigar is a cigar. Yeah, I don't know what the hell I was. A pig is a pig, and I was taking a quote from something.
I wasn't going to judge what you're into.
I don't know.
Oh, somebody asked about Last of Us. Very well made. As far as like end of the world zombie-esque stuff, it's nothing you haven't seen before. But I'm enjoying it.
You've already reviewed that, haven't you? You guys have already done reviews.
We did the first 2. I think we're going to do the third one at least. Sort of, as long as we're not repeating the same stuff every week, we'll cover it. It's a good show. Just, I don't know, it's so popular, but I would think The Walking Dead fatigue would have factored into it not being so popular. So we'll see. It's good so far, though.
How close does it veer towards Matheson? Because it seems like it does.
So far, I mean, not exactly, but I mean, yeah, of course, everything veers towards Matheson. I mean, it's the effects are good, the acting's very good. You know, they're definitely willing to kill off some characters you're not expecting to go. And I'm not familiar with the video games, so anything I'm watching, I'm just judging based on the show itself. What up, Mikey? But solid so far. It's just,
Mikey.
I don't know. I think if you have that end of the world zombie fatigue, and I used to eat that shit up, but you see a lot of it. But I like it so far.
I'm a zombie guy, and I'm fatigued for a few years now. I don't need to see any more zombies at the
They're
moment.
not traditional zombies. It's like a fungus sort of thing.
Still watches The Walking Dead, though.
Oh, wow. Stuck with it, baby.
I finished it, and it was
this
not.
Guy over here.
I don't want to get into it. I'm just saying it's not a true conclusion, and they're going to have to watch spin-offs and shit, and I just don't. I'm pissed. I don't want to talk about it.
I want them to show an origin story.
Well, me in 2004, zombies were my favorite thing, and then by like 2015, I don't even watch zombie movies anymore. Really, I got so burnt out.
I still like them. It's just you got to. I mean, you just got to give me something a little bit different. I mean, you can tell me the same story if you tell it well, but yeah. So far, check out Last of Us. Yeah, I've got my hardcover still coming. I've got the paperback right now. But
for a second, when I first read that, hey, visited by voices, I'm looking forward to getting hard. And then
Well, the book will help you with that.
Whatever it takes to
Well,
buy that book.
There are
Beat
some
my
love
copy.
scenes in there. There are some love scenes in there if you want to.
Kind of.
Mikey, America's favorite trucker, stated he's offended by the statement of people getting offended by offended people.
I agree with that.
Pretty brave
Exactly.
statement, Mike.
There are also pierced nipples. So there you go. There's another pig.
Ooh.
There's another.
I'm
teaser.
I'm offended.
There's,
Welcome back, Jessica.
she's like, the first thing I hear is pierced nipples.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, and she's probably gone by now.
Just trying to sell some books for you.
The artist formerly known as Joe Bob Tarheel. Is that you? Well, hello.
Joe Bob, you
Thanks,
go through some Twitter accounts, man. It's like you're on my friends list, then you're gone. I gotta find.
I can't keep track of you, man. You need to start telling me your new channel names or your new whatever name.
Right on, Bean.
Nice, Ben. Team Feruza.
I think we got Piz too, so we're getting stronger.
There you go. Yeah, man, he has been gone a long time, hasn't he?
I was always a Siskel guy over Ebert. I always thought Ebert was an asshole.
I agree with that.
Even after
Ebert
he lost his jaw, he was an asshole.
Yeah, Ebert had a few reviews that you tended to agree with and be like, oh, he's the good guy. But then you'd realize that the body of what he said was always like asinine and hate and much more filled with hatred. Siskel would just be like dismissive.
Yeah.
Oh, Disney put something out. Jizz. Oh, that's the best thing ever made.
I like a lot of Disney films, and I would never say. I don't think I'd say that.
Yeah, Ben. Literally, all the major surviving characters are going off to spinoffs. So
Son of a bitch.
So wait. I know Jay's answer to this, but of the rest of you, have you seen Biozombie, the great Wilson Yip film?
Oh, hell yeah. That's a great movie.
If you have not seen that and you like zombie films, that's the last one you need to ever watch.
Yeah, it's really good. It's also that period where zombie movies weren't being made. It came here a little bit later. I think it's like a 98 movie or something like that. But yeah, really good movie.
Unbelievable. And the plot synopsis makes it sound like the most derivative thing ever. Because it's what happens if zombies take over a mall. But when you see the movie, you won't feel that way. Best characters, best Hong Kong characters ever. And everyone falls in love with both Jelly and Rolls, and that's just how it is.
Hell yeah, Mikey.
Biozombie, one word?
It might be bio/zombie, I believe.
It's hyphenated most of the time. You can find the Mia import DVD cheap, and that's what one I'd suggest.
Wild Zero also came out around the same time. Really crazy movie.
There's a lot of them around that time, like Battlefield Baseball.
Yeah.
I love a lot of those.
Well, I've been hearing newer ones. They're called Plagas Trilogy or something. I've heard.
Oh, Plaga Zombie?
Yeah, we did a review on the new one.
Yeah,
all right.
We're trying to track those down. I haven't seen any of those yet.
Spin that thing.
Okay. Here we go.
Oh, what's going on there?
What's happening?
I'm feeling like someone's got their finger on the weight.
Hey, this is another one of mine, and I'm sorry.
Unconventional weapons and horror. No, that's the Wheel of Horror, bro. Don't be sorry.
I thought this would be a fun topic of discussion. We all know the basics. Butcher knife, axe, chainsaw. Those are pretty common in horror movies, right? I was trying to think of more of the things that you don't see as much. But I watched Megan last night, and this is what made me start thinking about this. It's the how many times have you guys seen them use the paper cutter. I don't know what. I'm sure
The
there's a name
faculty
for it.
for
like
sure.
little guillotine, exactly. But she pulls that off and starts killing people with it. And then sure. And when's the last time you saw one of those fucking things? Like
The
I saw one
faculty
in
I
art
think.
class in the 8th grade. I mean, I'm just saying.
I have
Now
one.
they're all over the place in movies, but
Didn't they use that in Freddy
Yeah.
vs. Jason?
yeah, there's a bunch of
They-
them. I don't know.
They broke the blade off of the.
Mm-hmm.
Those are still in, I think, offices and schools.
Are they? Pretty much any movie that there's like a zombie movie in a school is probably going to have that.
I mean, it makes sense. I always thought it looked like a machete.
Mhm.
Like, you know.
Mhm. Or like a drill or a nail gun or a wood chipper. There's lots of cool ones we can talk about.
A stiletto heel. I have seen that a couple times in horror movies.
I know they used.
Oh, there you go.
They had a ton of
Oh my!
crazy
Those.
ones in the Hatchet movies, but
Speaking of Hellfest,
This is it.
Oh yeah, in Hatchet he uses a belt sander, but it's like
Yeah.
a gas-powered belt sander. It's the most ridiculous. They had to custom make a gas-powered belt sander, and just the concept of that alone is ridiculous. Like,
yeah, I'm sure those exist. I've never heard of one.
and
I've got
another one. Speaking of which, is in New
Steven.
Blood. It's a weed eater with a freaking saw blade on it, and I've heard people say that's a real thing. Somebody made that. That's not a real thing. That's a weed eater with a saw blade attached to it, a circular saw blade. Like,
Road department.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen one that looks like it is in the film, but there's models of brush clearing that road departments use that are pretty
I've got-
similar.
Similar, but not. Yeah, they've got a spinning circular.
I need to see what that'll do to a human body. I'm sorry, a
Oh, yeah.
body, not a human.
So you guys are going a different kind of weapon. I would throw out vagina dentata, which is a little subgenre. Teeth is what most people know, but I'd also throw out the Taco Nakano film Sexual Parasite or Killer Pussy.
Killer pussy.
Was the other title, yeah. So there is a little bit of a subgenre.
We need more of those movies, guys. Come on.
More
Call Greg
killers.
Lambertson. I'm sure I'll have one by this time next year.
another one is The Ruler in Child's Play 2. I always thought that was like horrifying when I was a little kid because they have that metal edge in them.
Oh, yeah.
And just imagine and getting like beaten to death with that thing was horrifying as a kid.
I know most of you cats haven't seen Mask of the Devil yet because it hasn't hit streaming yet. But there's a erotic personal device that becomes a murder weapon.
Oh, okay.
I was just gonna say, I know I've seen it, but I can't think of an example of like a giant, double dong dildo used as some sort of a.
Jess has
That's where I was going.
They've seen it, I think.
So
Jess has a double dong dildo.
No.
The scene
Attachable
was
penis.
severely cut down, and I swear to
my
God,
God.
it's not an adult film, even though it sounds like it. But I was a zombie in a movie beaten to death by Russian lesbians with a double dong dildo, and it was so low budget that I was getting hit in the head by a legit double dong dildo.
Why do I feel like, Dan, this is what you want on your obituary as your
Sounds
fondest memory?
It could be. That could be what I'm known for. But I don't know. That it was the way it was edited. You didn't really get the brains coming out. But it was a interesting.
I have a feeling you enjoyed that, Dan.
I don't know. I thought I had a concussion after that thing. Just strippers don't. I mean, they hit you hard. They're taking all that anger out.
the movie Deathgasm. They use anal beads.
They do. Deathgasm's a lot of fun. I like that.
It is.
I need to
Yeah, I
watch
love that
one
movie.
in a while.
I'm rewatching Ash vs. Evil Dead with my wife, and
Oh, really?
they're in an episode. The main dude. I just noticed that.
Have you watched Stan Against Evil yet? If you like that,
Yeah.
you'll enjoy that one as
Yeah,
well.
I like it.
Or Todd in the Book of Pure Evil. I think we've talked about this before, Chris.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If it's an Evil Dead ripoff of any prominence, I've
Yep.
probably watched it and love it. So I just eat that stuff up.
Fishing Hook Killers.
Yeah, Blood Hook. I haven't seen that, but I've heard of it. It's like doesn't he
God.
use like a giant, like huge fishing hook? He just like throws it at people or something.
Just tune into XPW. There's a lot of very creative weapons used and real blood. So, yes, I was actually going to bring that up in One-Eyed Monster.
Anthony's Horror and More, the strap on with the blade and 7.
Ooh. You know what, though? You don't really see it, but that scene, Leyland Orser sells that so well. Just his acting there. That was a movie that I don't know that it's necessarily aged as well in the era of like so many CSI and Criminal Minds shows out there that are surprisingly graphic for network TV. But in a theater, 7 was quite shocking. I remember when Sloth, I don't know if they ever named the character, but when he's in the bed and he pops up, I'm like, there's no way that son of a bitch is alive. Like, I was losing my mind.
There was a few times in that movie I did that.
Yeah.
Not a
Oh,
movie, not a movie,
ahead.
but a live stage show. Wasp, Blackie Lawless would fuck a nun with a knife dick on stage.
Wow.
That's like
Yeah.
Mandy. They do that too. They don't show you, I don't think, but they just show like the corpses like bent over and bloody, and the dude stands up with a big blade on his dong.
Just the only thing I remember from Mandy is falling asleep repeatedly.
Oh wow! Get out of here.
That was a boring goddamn movie.
Mandy's a
Thank you,
masterpiece.
Lorne. Everybody was
agree, Lorne.
raving about it.
My wife walks in and she saw about 30 seconds of it and she goes, "What the fuck are you watching?"
You guys just didn't get it, okay?
No, I got it. It was
I
boring.
got it, and then I had to use a topical cream to get rid of it from that.
Yeah. It still pops back up every now and then.
More power to the guys that like it. It just
Yeah,
wasn't for
exactly.
me. I was
I
kind of
love it,
surprised at how big it popped.
Oh, there's merch,
Yeah.
Cheddar Goblin merch, all sorts of stuff.
I have
Darren,
another one.
people
I have
just-
another one, by the way.
Okay.
Children of the Corn 2. They use a RC car remote to kill a lady in her own electronic wheelchair.
Yeah.
So would you count the
I like that.
wheelchair, or would you recount the remote?
Or what about Gremlins? It throws Deagle.
With the lift
throws Miss
chair.
Deagle out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Their lift chair.
The epilogue of Bloody Birthday, where the kids had you don't see it happen, but the kids had to kick the stand out from under the mechanic, and the tire, well, the whole housing of the tire just like crushes his head.
Yeah, that's a good movie too.
That's an underrated movie for sure.
It's a great flick. It's hard to classify. That's why it never gets any like real traction, I think.
Deadly Friend. They use the basketball.
Fuck that movie.
Oh,
That's
you don't like
bad
Deadly
basketball.
Friend, bro?
No, I don't like
classic.
friggin' it's not a classic.
Christy Swanson.
I think we need
Classic.
some education on vocabulary there, son.
Oh no, it's classic.
Darren, and I think it was you, Lauren.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you have a video on Slaughter Hotel. Maybe.
I do.
Yeah, it's an older one. But
Slaughter Hotel is a really shocking film because when you actually watch it, you don't realize that you're going to have hardcore porn at any moment in the film.
back then, yeah, that was common.
It's, and it's not like fleeting.
Mm-hmm. My favorite story, Christopher Lee story, probably of all time, and he made a handful of films with Jess Franco. Really, some of the most expensive and better films that Jess Franco made. And it was years later. He was hanging out with friends in New York, and one of them came to him, and it's like, one of your movies is playing at the porn theater. And Christopher Lee realized like there were all these inserts, like that he was in a scene that he didn't realize. Then there's like porn inserts. And then they said he just shrugged and he's like, well, now I guess I've made every kind of movie.
That's what it was Malcolm McDowell with Caligula.
Yeah, that one was rough. I think he probably should have known better because he tells that story in a lot of interviews where he found out like Bob Guccione was like funding it, and he even said he's like the pornographer, like he knew who he was. He's like, no, it's just money, Malcolm. It's just a money guy.
So they tell me to shoot a scene. It's like, look over and look at the fuzzy rabbit and smile. And then he's like, and I watched the final film and I'm like looking over and there's lesbians.
As he dances Bob Guccione, and the song "Get in the Ring" pops in my head.
Well, in Anthony's horror movies, horror and more. The Captive Bolt Pistol and No Country for Old Men.
That's a good one.
Well, it didn't remind me, but it kind of made me think of the From Dusk Till Dawn. It wasn't used by a villain, but the Sex Machine pistol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
a pencil.
Was that in that first, or was that in the Once Upon a Time in Mexico?
Oh, that would have been in From Dusk Till Dawn first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time came years later.
No, it's Desperado. My bad.
Or Desperado. Was there a crotch gun in that?
Yeah.
They were around the same.
Desperado.
It would have been Desperado first.
The other.
Yeah.
I know.
You're right. It would have been Desperado then.
I think he's brought that up in another movie of his too.
I mean, it's a good gag, man. I would run with it. The thing can't function if you
really actually, yeah. How it's
if you know even the slightest thing about guns, you realize how it can't function. But it's a good
right. It just looks like the barrel and then the two.
Yeah. So funny
revolver chambers.
Yeah, it is a cool gimmick, but I'll tell you, this wasn't me. This is a third party story, but I just think it's so funny. Somebody was dressed up as Tom Savini's character from Dusk Till Dawn, Sex Machine, at a convention, and Tom Savini, I've never had a bad experience, but they went up to him. I guess he wasn't in like the best of moods, and they had the crotch pistol and everything. And the dude's just sitting there. It's like, oh, look, he's like trying to get it to work, and it wasn't working. And Tom Savini's like looking, like just looks at him for a minute. It's like, do you want anything signed? It was just like,
hold on,
that poor guy.
Yeah. Give it a minute.
He just said, like, he didn't really say anything to him, but he just kind of like, yeah, okay, nerd. Like, where's your $30?
Sometimes you just have to play with the balls for a minute.
Savini's probably thinking, is he going to make me sign that while it's on him? It's probably what he's thinking.
I think even if you are cool with your fans, I could see a situation like that.
Oh, yeah.
Getting to the point where you're like, what do you want signed here, buddy?
I've told it before, but one actor, a notable one, where and I saw this at Chiller, and they bring up like photos that they took like outside his house and start talking about Hawaii, which I guess is where the photos were taken. And like literally, and like the look on the face, it's like and then like I even asked about it later, and he took photos. Like he was actually outside my goddamn house. So yeah, sometimes it is the fans. It's not always the celebrities.
For exotic murder weapons in horror movies, like just the entire Saw series, period.
Oh yeah, love
from
those
exploding
films.
Dolls to car engines to drowning in Pigafall. It probably is the series with the most exotic weapons of any.
Yeah. I don't feel like the last one was as great with the creativity, though, in terms of the kills. I know some people like that.
Still haven't
some
watched
didn't,
it.
I haven't watched Spiral either.
You're not missing much.
I like it.
I need to, if they're coming out with Saw 10, I need to just watch it, but I've been I just don't want to watch it.
Well, the last couple before that one kind of turned me off of the series.
Everything after 4, I think, turned me off.
Same here for the most part.
I like them all.
Still like
what I've seen.
I miss the tradition of having it every year, though. Like it just kind of became a thing. after a while, it was tough because it's like, oh wait, you're trying to remember because they all tie in together.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the big thing. I think it becomes kind of a mess by 5 and 6.
It's intentional though. They were trying to do that like soap opera overload thing, whereas it's impossible to keep it completely straight, and that's the whole point.
Okay.
Well,
Well, it worked,
Yeah, no,
but it didn't.
well, no. I mean, if you can untangle it, like everything makes sense. It's just you're never going to be able to keep it all in mind.
Yeah.
It's just too much film there.
Yeah, there is a problem with like every year. If you haven't just rewatched them all to like refresh yourself, you might be a little lost.
Well, the last two, that's not true of at all. Like you can absolutely watch those in isolation and be absolutely fine. But my understanding is that Saw X is a fans movie. So if you don't know the minutiae of the entire series, this is not going to be the entry point for you. And I'm glad for that. Like, let's do one last one that's like the crazy interconnected.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
all right.
I wanted more Hoffman though. Like I was really digging Hoffman. And
You were? See, that's kind of turned me off.
I love Hoffman. Hoffman's my favorite character in the whole franchise.
Hoffman, if you
like
had to
Hoffman.
get rid of Tobin Bell, you should have kept Hoffman around. I mean, maybe he would have gotten old. Maybe they did it right, but he was entertaining. He was a good replacement if you had to get rid of Tobin Bell.
He was a good villain.
He's a villain in more films than Tobin Bell is.
Oh, yeah. That the scene, and I can't remember which actor it was at this point, but where it's like crushing him and the blood's coming down on him. It's like, I know who you are. Like that was just really intense. Costas Mandylor is one of those actors that seemed like he was going to be a big deal for a little bit, Mobsters and some of those movies. And then he kind of fell into B-movie hell. And I thought that was kind of cool that he got his time in the sun again in that role. He's a good actor.
Well, we will be covering the
franchise,
Saws at some point.
And I take shit for it all the time, and I don't care.
You
guys keep your freaking Nightmare on Elm Street films. I'll take Saw.
Yeah, I wouldn't
go that far, but I do like the Saw franchise.
Get Jess triggered over here.
No kidding. We will be covering those movies eventually. Don't ask me when.
I'll probably have to revisit them all before
some point. Season 3.
I think we all are going to have to revisit them if you're going to go see that next one. From what I hear, it's like constant flashbacks and it's all over the timeline.
That's this year, isn't it?
It is.
What? Do you know what month?
I think they're putting it back in October finally.
Yeah, I want to say
cool.
October 11th, maybe. It's not Halloween, but it's October. Something like that. That could change, but
okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see because I was a little. The last two I wasn't as invested in, but you get back to the basics of the originals.
We tried to go through them all so my kids could be caught up for Spiral. And it just became like a chore to like, okay, we're on the Wikipedia. Let's figure out exactly what the hell's going on right now. And they lost interest. I lost interest. So,
can we all agree that first one has one of the great endings, though?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
I think the second film is one of the best horror films of its era.
Oh yeah, the Needle Pit.
Like,
Saw
fantastic too. That's terrifying.
Saw 2 is from beginning to end just
cringy,
amazing.
Yeah, another one too. That franchise kind of either actors whose careers had faded a little bit. Shawnee Smith. Goddamn, she's good.
She's good in that.
Great role.
Yeah,
and they never had to recast anyone.
No,
that's always nice. I always appreciate that.
Yeah. Sean Patrick Flannery, Angus McFadden. There's a lot of damn fine actors in those movies.
Mm-hmm. They'd go in for their 3 days of work annually if they were needed for that film. They'd get paid more than they would get paid for 3 days work anywhere else, but it was still manageable on the budgets because the Saw films were lower budgeted films. It was a really, really smart way to make films, and they always wrote within a confine. It was like, okay, our film is taking place in this one place. What is it? What can we redress as many times as possible? They don't feel like it, but they all are that. And damn it, I wish we had more of that. Rather than more of that and less of the kind of Blumhouse, oh, well, there'll be a suburban house with, one name actor and just a lot of jump scares. Ugh.
Well, Cube did that really good too.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
I love
like,
Cube.
I'm not gonna say Escape Room was.
I
as
love
good,
those movies.
but I like that. I like that kind of systematic puzzle box type of movie. They're fun, and
They're the
I'd
same
like to see
movie.
more of them.
They're the same movie, but I love both of them.
Did
I
you
haven't
watch
seen the second.
Platform?
No.
What is it?
Oh, Platform. I think it was French. Netflix movie. It was like one of those first quarantine originals. You might like that one. I believe it was French. I'm 90% sure. Might have been Belgian. I think it was French.
The damn Swedes.
Ouch.
Ooh, damn.
Yeah, Jessica's cutting off fingers in the chat. This is not healthy. She thinks she's part of the Japanese mafia, I think.
Gotta
got
send
any-
a message.
Any last of the unconventional weapons used in horror films?
13
I was
Ghosts
thinking-
remake, the glass wall that cuts the
Mhm.
lawyer in half.
Okay.
Yeah, the glass door, the sliding door.
Oh, Final Destination 2, the glass pane that crushes the child.
That was really
Actually, everything in Final
Final
Destination 2.
Destination movies.
Yeah.
I
can
know
watch
there's
the
tons
second
I
film on
forget, and
repeat
right
because
there.
I just love that movie.
I mean, that's
it-
another similar to what I was saying, the like systematic things. That's more like a Rube
Yeah.
Goldberg machine of death kind of thing.
We're
That
getting-
kid gets pancaked in that movie, man. He
Oh,
just
that
like,
is fucking
Yeah, he
crazy.
disappears, dude.
yeah, he's just a pile of parts.
Those
That-
movies are fun, but there's some meanness in there and some of their kills that I love.
But that was the thing. Like the first film is not mean, even though it has all that. But then the second film was like, now let's just go and do this like what we promised to do last time. Let's actually do it this time. And it was wonderful. They were slasher films without the slasher. You know.
I think that's a solid franchise. I think we need to cover that on the Horror Rumble at some point.
Well, that's getting rebooted too. So
Oh,
Of course it
reboots.
is.
I don't quite get
There's-
the point of a reboot there. Just, I don't know.
Yeah,
Why
well,
reboot?
who knows what reboot means anymore though? So maybe
It does. Yeah,
that's
it has a
true.
mixed meaning. If you're doing a sequel, but you don't want to necessarily bring every bit of lore from
soft
each.
reboot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, because at a certain point though, it's like, is the Grim Reaper, is Death obsessed with Flight 180 because he keeps like planting the things? So like I can almost understand removing that part, but as far as the continuity, like why does it need to be anything but just another Final Destination movie?
Exactly.
agreed.
Why? Well, just don't call it. It'd be like the fourth movie in that franchise is called The Final Destination. Like, let's
Well,
be a
how
little
much
more
would it-
clever, or put a
how-
number there. That's cool.
How much would it rock if a movie just came out, didn't call itself Final Destination, looked like a rom-com, and then 10 minutes in there was some horrific accident and it was a Final Destination film, but they just didn't promote it as such.
Just use like the subtitle
fucked up
to
date
it
night.
until you get into the movie, and then it's like
Exactly.
that Final
I think
Destination.
we need more of that. We need more of that. Like
Surprises,
almost-
yeah.
I'd be more cool if with any of these long-running franchises, if they just pretended to be something else, and you got there, and then Leatherface showed up.
Call it like Last Visit or something, where it's like a play on Final
But not even a
Destination,
horror
but
movie. You pretend you're making a drama or
One girl, dur.
Okay, so here's what you do. The trailer is like the white blonde teacher goes to the inner city to teach the black youth, and it turns out to be Candyman.
Yeah.
That's what we need in our lives.
Well, did
Dangerous
you watch
Minds
the
meets
did you watch the
Candyman.
Slim Yule log? That was, I wish to be the person that accidentally saw that movie would be so, you would never forget.
I never would have mentioned it if. Did you bring it up? I think you might have brought it up, Chris.
I know
Oh.
Chris and I reviewed that one.
Yeah. I don't
I
remember
never
who
would've
brought
watched
it up
that otherwise.
originally, but yeah. Like I
This
just
is-
wish I could have spontaneously ran into that.
It just looks like something you put on your television, like when your family comes over or something. You know, just like it's just a
Imagine-
fireplace burning.
Imagine a family picking that one to put on while they open presents or something, and grandma's there, and then that movie unfolds. Like that's legendary.
Yeah, they don't do enough of that type of stuff anymore.
All right. And Deerskin, a guy kills people with sharpened ceiling fan blade. That's interesting.
Oh, nice. There were some
Yeah.
creative kills in
Jack
Masters
around
of
me.
Horror, actually. Made me think of pelts for some reason. Ooh.
The
wow.
Phantasm, the Sentinel in Phantasm. I mean, that's not really like a makeshift weapon, but it's a pretty fucked up thing. You know, it flies at your head and then drills through it and then like siphons your blood out of your brain. That's pretty insane.
It's pretty much all been done. Like, you know, these writers like probably went to the like hardware store and they're like, no.
Seen it.
I don't know about that. Haven't done that.
Hey, what's this thing called?
Yeah. That's a
Yeah, I didn't
a
realize there's tons we're probably not even thinking of. You could
Yeah,
do a
there-
complete episode on this. Honestly, a
You
lot
really
of these
could.
topics.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. I guess. Are you guys ready to bring up the wheel again?
Yes.
Go for
Spin.
it.
Spin, sugar.
I feel like we're always going to forget something on each one of these. Okay.
We always
Spinning the
do.
wheel.
Oh.
Hey-o.
Disturbing behavior.
Yes.
I got to pay to use that sound effect.
Is this topic all about Joe Bob Tarhill?
Oh my, come on now.
We love you, Joe Bob.
Oh, we love it.
So am I
Disturbing
supposed to
behavior.
give like an intro or something?
Yeah.
Or is that how it works?
Either way, yeah. I mean, well, not
You're-
start
you
us
need to
off.
grind a little bit, babe.
It's pretty simple, you know. It's disturbing behavior is one of those like late 90s teen horror
yeah.
movies that
Oh yeah.
it's kind of like a B like secondary one, but it's one that I've always loved. It's just got like whenever I was a kid, that was a big one for me. When the trailer came out,
Me
I
too.
was like, yo, that looks dope as hell. It's kind of like Stepford Wives. It has the
Yes.
group of kids in high school that I was very much a part of were the focus, you know.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's got Will Sadler in one of his best roles, in my opinion.
He steals the show for sure. in that one.
Vonnegut. Yeah. But yeah. You hear mixed things. I don't think anybody like it's not like widely panned or anything among like our community, I don't think, but
It's not
Never heard-
talked about as
it's
often as I
under-talked
think it
about,
should
yeah.
be.
That movie hit me at a time in my life where I was one of those kids, you know.
yeah.
The music, I thought Katie Holmes was hot as shit. You know?
Oh, she is in that movie for sure.
Oh,
Do you guys remember the music video, The Flies? I Got You Where I Want You, I think was the name of the song.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
she's
on the
from that.
VHS at the end of the tape, and it's on.
Yeah.
I have the DVD. I haven't gotten that MVD release yet, but it's on my
Mhm.
DVD as a feature.
Yeah, I remember that. Katie Holmes. Wow, beautiful lady. That movie also had a really good supporting cast. I mean, Steve Railsback was in that. I think Catherine Isabel was in it. Ethan Embry,
Yeah,
Bruce
Catherine
Greenwood. Yeah, it's definitely not the most original film by any means,
Oh.
but
Well, it's like The Faculty. You know, it's almost a remake or a retelling of.
Yeah. Like you said, the Stepford
Yeah.
Wives or the.
Yeah.
But I
always,
think it's
yeah.
in that era. I think it's one of the best. Now there are ones I praise Scream probably more, and even Urban Legend, the first one only.
Mhm.
But it ranks up there of what I would call 90s horror or late 90s horror. Some of the top of that disturbing behavior.
I never hated the film, and I was very hostile towards a lot of those films
Yeah.
of that time. But yeah, I mean, it's not a great film, but I get the appeal, especially
Oh,
when
I
you
think it's great.
see it
Yeah.
at like a certain age, for sure. Nick
It's not
Stahl,
great. It's not
Yeah,
great
Nick
as in
Stahl.
it's original. It's great as in
Yeah.
it's like it's just a time capsule movie, big time, and it's just fun. You know, it's
Mhm.
like it's very.
you know,
much,
I'm not a big.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm not a big like Kevin Smith, script fan or anything. I'm not a big Scream guy really.
Kevin
But
Williams.
that one doesn't feel like it to me. It feels. I think it's better written than a Scream movie, but it just doesn't feel like that teen type movie that was so popular at the time. When it may be. Technically, but it doesn't feel like it to me.
I get where you're coming from. I wouldn't go as far to say it's better than a Scream for my own personal. But I get what you're saying. It doesn't feel like those other late 90s.
Right.
Yeah, those other ones were kind of like Dawson's Creek, and
which this had Katie Holmes, of course.
Yeah, but this one was written and geared towards the kids who hated Dawson's Creek and that whole thing.
Yes.
It's
because again, that was 100% my friend group in high school. Just kind of like they're not even all one thing. They're just kind of the kids who don't fit anywhere
freaks,
else and
just the outcasts. Yeah.
They're cool people who found each other,
Yeah, I think the mind washing angle is kind of ironic when you consider Katie Holmes kind of by marriage fell into a cult. Nick Stahl, though, I did want to mention him because he's kind of having a pretty solid little comeback right now. I know he had a lot of issues. Really good in that movie. Really good in a one that not a lot of people watched last year. What Josiah Saw. Very dark shit. It's on Shudder. Really dark stuff. It is a good movie. It is.
He's in Let the Right One In too.
The show. Series. Okay. Yeah, I still need to.
He was in Hunter x Hunter too, and that was good.
Oh, what a nasty ending in that one. Oh God.
And I like to
and for
think
what
I
it's
was
worth,
Nick
the
Stahl in
second
that
best John Connor. So
wouldn't disagree with that.
Nah.
There's one of the original older dudes.
About disturbing behavior in general, it's just a nah. I never
really.
I saw it in theaters. That's the last time I saw it. I didn't have any feeling. But that whole period, that whole look of those films for that whole period just turned me off so huge. I might have unfairly judged it. I don't think if I went back, I'd care anymore. I'm not nostalgic for that era at all. Better than a Scream film? Well, probably definitely better than any of the sequels. Sure.
Yeah, it is.
That doesn't even take a heartbeat for me to figure that out.
That was late 90s, right?
98.
98. Okay.
Yeah. I think the same year as Urban Legend.
So it's better than that.
Was about the same time Jess and I were making trips to Ohio and
smoking doobies.
And it's got a little bit of the meta stuff in it with them sitting in the cafeteria pointing out the like social groups, almost like it's Clueless. So
yeah,
that meta thing is kind of there a little bit.
It's like the anti-Clueless,
Yeah.
Whereas Clueless follows the rich, like popular kids. This follows like the opposite of that.
It's got nothing on Heather's.
Oh no,
it's got nothing on Heather's.
No, probably took a lot from Heather's though, honestly, as a lot of films do.
Yeah, like Jay mentioned earlier, the Disturbing Behavior soundtrack. If you were in late high school or around that time period, you definitely
that's a great soundtrack.
Feel that, whether you even like the music or not, you feel it. That era.
No.
Yeah. So who here? Lorne didn't care for it. I liked it a lot. What do you think, Kory?
I liked the movie. I just didn't care for the soundtrack. And Jess, you were there. You know me. I was you
wouldn't have.
Late 90s, wearing the Poison shirts and Skid Row and Motley Crue, and I still long for the 80s. I still do.
And at that time, you were about 10 years off each way, each side. Future and past. So.
Kory, I don't think I've ever said this to you before, but I am really very happy you made it out of that Great White concert alive.
I did see Great White once. They were. It was actually Poison's reunion tour. They were it was L.A. Guns, Great White, Rat, and Poison. And the marquee actually said Rat Poison.
Didn't say Fireball, Escape with Your Lives.
That was a hot show.
It was an outdoor venue, so
the best way to see Great White.
Yes.
Yeah. with plenty of sprinklers.
Yeah, it's a solid little film. I mean, it's I don't love it, but I get its appeal. The character actors really elevate that one, I think, beyond the material.
I will say there was a point in time where I had lost my copy of it and I could not find a copy anywhere.
That was the VHS, right?
Yeah, I lost my VHS copy of it. So I figured since I didn't have it, I was going to just look for it on DVD, and I could not find it anywhere. They didn't have it at Walmart. They didn't have it at a Goodwill. Nowhere.
Did you check the gas stations?
Oh, come
Actually, yes. I did. I checked everywhere. I could not find it. I ended up ordering it off of Amazon. Probably paid more than what I should have for it, but I have it
24
now.
cents?
So. And the shitty part is, and this always happens when a situation comes up where I cannot find a movie anywhere, and I finally just say fuck it and pay more than I should. I end up finding it at a Goodwill like a week or two later.
Yeah.
And I get pissed. So
That's usually how it goes. Well, I would have thought there would have been more praise, but I get it. I get it. I'm with you, Chris.
Dan
I guess
Dan and Lorne are tough customers. Let's not,
They are.
especially when it
I
comes
don't-
to that
I don't hate this
era
one. I
of
like it.
movies. So
Yeah, I don't
Like I
consider it great, is all, but I
It's-
like it.
It's probably my least favorite era of modern horror, definitely. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, like that whole movement, like there's things I like about certain movies. Like I like how Valentine sometimes does get really mean, but the movie as a whole sucks. Like keep crushing like bottles in people's throats and I'm good, but the rest of the movie, oh god, no, don't make me sit through that again.
Was that 2001 or was that still?
that was
I had to be
2001,
earlier
but
than
it's still, I still
It's
consider
still of
all
that.
those
Yeah,
late
that does
90s.
move over to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I just
There are
I
some
don't know.
early 2000 movies that have that late 90s vibe
It just
for sure.
it's just not what I want out of horror. It's just
I
not
have a
there.
huge soft spot for all of them. It was very much like I was like the perfect age for it, and like there's a thing where people think that it was aimed towards like the Dawson's Creek crowd, but I kind of took it as like the horror genre like invading that a little bit, where it's like like Scream was Dawson's Creek. But it's like if you had the cast of Dawson's Creek and you dropped a killer in there and he starts.
Yeah, I was gonna
killing.
say you're killing those characters of Dawson's
Yeah.
Creek.
So when I was a kid, that's where I kind of latched onto it. It's like, oh, like this is kind of like poking at the popularity of stuff like that a little bit.
But you see, that's what doesn't work about it for me because like the whole thing is those kind of like model beautiful, pretty people are not relatable. So then it becomes just like setting them up just to knock them down. And like if you take like the early Fridays as an example, that's not how they worked. I mean, you didn't actually want these people to get knocked off per se, although we love the murder sequences. But when it just becomes, I want to see pretty people die.
Well, I
I
think
don't
the
know.
problem with that
Then
though,
like
is
then
that,
let's just
like,
watch did pretty people die then, I guess, right? Like
But
don't give me the rest of the movies.
Despite the fact that Neve Campbell is hot, like she's still Sydney is a fleshed out character. She's not dressed up.
No. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, no.
That's not ridiculous. She's a fleshed out character.
Farouz is
Okay,
one thing.
Do you want to do? We could do the character test and see if she passes.
Let's do it.
What's the
Okay.
character tests?
Describe her without saying what she does or the danger she's in.
What she does, she's a
So
girl.
don't. Not that's what she is. Don't say that. Give me an aspect of the
She's a
character that
person?
describe her.
Lost her mother in a traumatic way. I mean, that's kind of like you don't need much more than that.
So
to carry
when
her
if
through
you're
that
going to
movie.
describe, if you're going to
You're looking for too much in a slasher
Are you
movie.
describing
okay,
Never
so
her
wait, that's
character.
fine. What you just said is fine, but it contradicts your initial point, which is that she's a well-rounded character. She's not.
Well, for a slasher movie, which I mean,
Oh,
that's
okay,
a
then
that's a
then
whole
you might want to
nother
lead with that
like can
caveat.
of
then,
worms where I think
because-
a lot of people expect too much from a slasher movie character. You know,
She lost her anal virginity a few years ago.
So the point is that you can describe Han Solo without saying he's a smuggler. You can talk about all the things he is, right? He's
Scruffy looking nerf herder, dude.
Well, you can just talk about that he's brave, but he's reluctant to join a cause. He doesn't like to be led. You can all those things you do. Sidney Prescott has none of those qualities. You can't tell me anything about her except the things that are put.
But there are
into
a lot of slasher movies that even you like that have just as shallow of a main character because it's
She's an emotional
absolutely,
survivor.
but I did not just suggest that any of those are well-rounded characters. That's where I'm pushing back at you.
Well, but when I say it, I mean for a slasher movie. You're saying that the reason you didn't latch on
do you
to
think
it is because
Flo from the Progressive commercials is a well-rounded character for a insurance commercial? Because that's meaningless. And saying there's a well-rounded for a slasher is just as meaningless.
Flo's perfect.
Yeah, but
she's
perfect for
iconic.
that.
I don't see
character.
it as how you're separating it from the 80s movies that you like just because
No, I didn't make a positive claim about any of those characters being good characters though. I can like stuff that's shit. I'm allowed to do that. You're allowed to do it too. I just think that the claim that she's a well-rounded character is bullshit.
Well, but under the context for a slasher movie, I think she's fine to latch onto for that.
That's a different statement than what you made.
No, there should be context applied to what I'm saying. It shouldn't just be like, I don't think she's fucking Han Solo. But for a slasher movie, I'm gonna hold on. My fucking shit's popping up. Antivirus. For a slasher movie, I shouldn't have to specify she's a well enough rounded character for a slasher movie. I shouldn't have to be that specific to you. I can just say she's a well enough rounded character, and you should understand that I mean for a slasher movie, right?
I don't even know how to respond to that, to be honest. Because to me, the words have meaning. I don't know.
I think she is, but I don't know if that's much backing for you, Chris.
Chris, I just want to say welcome to the Horror Rumble.
Oh, I'm cool.
We weren't rumbling all night. We needed to rumble a little bit.
I'm just
definitely applauding it. Truly,
the hate for Sydney because she's a character I love.
Well, that's
and
cool
Lorne,
that you love the actress.
I don't know about Flo, but I know Lily's from AT&T is well-rounded in all the right areas. So
the only thing watchable about that werewolf movie,
Very
right?
well-rounded.
Oh, that's the one that was getting memed on for having a lot upstairs.
just say that she's a very beautiful young lady.
I wish her great success in her career.
Well, alrighty then. Let's get out of disturbing behavior before we burn down the house. Here we go. Spinning the wheel, my friends. Unless you all wanted to talk more about it, I'm down.
I suspect that there's not a good answer for that.
I think we covered it.
Okay.
Concept versus execution. I think Kory.
Yeah, this was actually something that came up in the last Horror Rumble when we were discussing the prophecy movies. The idea that just the idea of whether a story is a good enough idea to carry it, as opposed to whether it was necessarily shot well. I mean, you can have a movie that's shot well, but has shit for a story. You're shining a turd in that case. So I was just curious on your guys' thoughts on if one is more important than the other.
So concept versus execution. So something like with a good concept, just not necessarily executed well.
Well, okay. For example, a movie that's actually on the wheel, Hellfest. is a good concept. It's a great concept. But
And it
there's
was
holes in
executed just fine. What's your problem?
but there's holes in the story.
Well, there's holes in damn near every story if you really want to analyze it. But
This is gonna become more of a rumble real fast if anyone doesn't keep in track.
No,
That's
don't
why
get
I'm
me
waiting
wrong.
for you to,
I love
to
the
jump in
movie,
and hit him,
okay?
Lauren.
Great concept, piece of shit movie.
No, I mean, like, there are movies out there that have a really good premise and maybe not necessarily wrote well, but the idea is there, and is that enough to carry it? Or
I have an example, actually. It's actually one of the oldest movie posters that I owned. And of course, there's more than you think, particularly in present day. But at least when I was a kid and getting into horror movies, I was like, I wish there was more like Native American themed horror. Because at that point, I really hadn't seen much of anything. Again, there is, but I do
I was just
remember
going to say.
having the poster art for a 1983 movie from Fred Olin Ray called Scalps. I still have it. I've gotten rid of a lot of posters. Great art. And obviously when I got it, I was like, okay, this isn't that dream Native American themed horror movie that I specifically wanted. But nonetheless, that one always kind of comes to mind when that question comes up. And I still have some nostalgia for it, to be honest, in a weird sort of way. It's not a great movie, but it's like I found it. I was like, oh my God. The poster is still up. If you can come across the poster, I think it's actually some of the cooler 80s art for a poster for a low budget movie like that.
Hey Ben, are we talking about Seth Sherwood? Just give me a yes or no or a thumbs up in the chat. Sorry, side conversation.
oh, you're fine.
Oh. What are the plot holes for you in Hellfest? I'm just curious.
To be honest with you, it's been quite a while since I've sat down and watched it. I just remember that there were certain things about the movie that I remember sitting there thinking, well, I don't remember that being brought up or why this is connected or whatever, but and I could be wrong on that. That was just the first movie that popped in my head, but we were talking about, well, what brought it up last month was we were talking about the Prophecy 4 and 5 and the idea that they had for those two movies, because it's essentially one long movie.
Yeah, they shot them back to back.
Yeah, but the idea is great. It's just the movies aren't necessarily the greatest.
Yeah. There's a lot like that. Hellfest is a weird one, though, to be honest, because I don't understand why it wasn't embraced more upfront. Because it just kind of seems to be like that movie that the horror community as a whole just wants, and I don't know why it didn't get embraced. It's a really weird one.
It's because you're looking at the movie itself. It's very simple.
Yeah,
it came out 2 weeks before Halloween 2018. The whole community was in uproar. They wanted to see the Halloween movie. That's where all the energy was. It was at first kind of dismissed. There were some bad reviews that came out from the regular quarters, those big websites that we pick on all the time because they're obviously full of shit. And people didn't go see it. So the reality is they took the opinion of those websites. People have come around a lot on the movie since, as people actually watch it. But at first, no. It was just that anticipation of the film they really wanted to get behind. And I think they did kind of blindly get behind, to be honest with you, because at first you couldn't say anything bad about Halloween 2018 without people jumping down your throat. There was very few of us that did. Now it's much more tempered, and it seems to be kind of evenly split, which is probably where that movie belongs. But Hellfest never had an opportunity because it came out at exactly the wrong time. And the marketing was anemic. I went to see the film based on seeing the poster in the lobby of the theater, not because I'd seen anything on it. I didn't know what the movie was about at all. I didn't know it was a slasher film. I thought it was a vampire film because the poster has a vampire on it.
I remember seeing the trailer and being excited about it. So there was some marketing, at least. I don't know if I was just watching the right channels or what.
See, I don't watch television, so if I don't see a trailer before a movie, I probably don't see it. And I was away for work at the time for 3 months, so realistically, I wasn't probably as keyed in either. But I had a great night. I walked out going, "Oh my god, I think I just saw one of my favorite films of all time," and specifically because Hellfest kind of reverses all that Scream era concept, re-envisioning of the slasher genre. It doesn't really spend a lot of time trying to be hip or cool. Like, those kids are not cool kids; they're just kids, and they're relatable. They're given the space and time. They're not well-developed characters, but they are, as you said before, everything the film needs them to be. But it also does it with a great shorthand that's really clever and smart. I see that when you talk about concept and execution, the whole thing is it's really like, if you don't have both, it doesn't really even matter. It's not like one's more important, because honestly, a film like The Stuff has a fairly stupid concept. It's pretty awful, to be honest with you. But the execution of that simple concept is awesome. And that's because you have someone like Larry Cohen out there who can work in either direction. Either you can have big ideas with no money and he can still make that work, or can you have very little ideas? Hey, what happens if we started marketing, the Blob to people as a dessert topping? That's it. That's really it. But the execution is just frigging amazing, But I think you have to have both. I don't think one is weighted more towards success than the other.
I think I'm trying to think the short-haired girl, was it Taylor?
Bex Taylor.
Yeah. Would have loved to have seen her headline one of those after the ending. I thought she was great.
Well, she doesn't make it, but she was pretty harshly treated by casual horror fans who pointed to her as like, "Oh, she's annoying," which I find really odd, because she was the surrogate for the horror fans in the film. So they were kind of like picking at themselves, because I know so many people who are go to a horror convention and all you have is a room full of that character, really. So
yeah. No, I don't know. Maybe there's an off chance. Collector got a sequel. I didn't think that was gonna happen.
no, it's not gonna happen. And I'm kind of cool with that, because it gets to be its own little island.
Yeah, you may regret it once you had gotten the sequel anyway.
Well, unless Gregory Plotkin comes back, and unless we get, at least some of the same writers back, Akela Cooper and Sherwood. Unless we get them back, I don't really. Not that someone else couldn't do it, but at that point, like, why don't you just do something else and make it awesome that I can also be behind? Whatever. That somehow it's like the wheel landed on a different space.
Well, I wish I had better examples myself, and I think probably because we watch those and then we forget about them because they weren't well executed, which means, like you said, you need both. It probably wasn't a good film. But the first ones pop up and just in my head were like Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I thought, yes, that doesn't sound like it's going to be a masterpiece, but it's going to be a lot more fun than it was executed. Ghost Ship, great opening scene, great concept, but honestly, the whole movie as a whole is pretty lame.
Yeah. Well, that comes down to two, like we got Ghost Ship's a good example because it's an early example of it, is that we've gotten to the point where with digital filmmaking, what it is, we can put anything on screen that we can imagine. But in that liberation, there's a new set of shackles, right? Because rather than figuring out, how to do something that's actually appropriate for the plot and reinforces your ideas and your themes, you can just go for the cool thing every time.
Yeah,
and I think that's not good.
Oh, it weakens your story. if that's what you're doing.
Ben Grimm says that the director of Hellfest did Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension. He was the longtime editor on the films from the second onward, and he was pretty much putting those films together from raw footage. So if you like the Paranormal Activity films, which I don't, understand that he as an editor was making them into actual films from just a bunch of literally found footage.
I don't like them either, but I will say, a good chunk of those movies from 2 to, I don't know, half a dozen of them put food on my table because I worked on the promos. So it's hard for me to hate them.
Yeah, I mean, Gregory Plotkin is also one of those guys that was able to bridge partnerships with the Walking Dead guys to get their entire crew onto Hellfest pretty much. And I mean, decent guy too. I mean, if you get to talk to him ever, he's really kind of cool and humble. So, but no, I mean,
sorry. Go.
As far as like executing on your ideas, the one thing is, I think the movie industry has a real problem because they're trying to hit as many people as possible. So they jam in so many things that are either must-haves or can't-haves into every project. And it's the same list. Whether you're making a comedy, a horror film, an action film, honestly, there's like the same beats have to occur. And it's poison to actually making the films what they should be. And I just think we're in a bad place in American cinema right now. And a lot of times those screenplays might have started as something special. By the time they get out to the world as a released film, it's just, they're a shadow of what they could have been. Hopefully that can change.
Yeah, agreed.
If I had time to sit down and actually think about this, I could come up with a lot that would fit in this category.
Oh, yeah.
But one that immediately came to mind was the movie Pandorum, like a horror sci-fi film that was an unofficial sequel to something. But
it's like a side sequel to Event Horizon, kind of.
Yeah, but it just wasn't. It was just very forgettable to me, And I wanted to like it, because I love horror sci-fi.
Yeah, and that's the thing; it's forgettable. So it's like you said. There are tons of these movies, and I remember when they end, it's like, oh, that was a great concept, but it sucked. It did not work.
It's so many we could say in this, that farm to table, it was good originally. We were talking about it in the writers' room or whatever, but
well, something like Turistas is a great example of something that there was an embryonic idea of something cool, and it never got beyond that point because it's just an incompetent film from beginning to end.
That was just kind of trying to bite on the torture porn popularity, right?
Well, I mean, sure, but I mean, I think sometimes, I think those aspects got built up because that's what was happening. But the idea of someone going to an exotic land and the natives are kind of up to something, not kosher. Well, there's a long tradition of that, and that could have been a great film. I don't even think the torture porn aspects of it are the biggest problems with it. It's just, I don't like those characters. I don't care what happens to them. There's no dramatic structure whatsoever. And it can't resolve itself in a way that feels either original or creative or even fulfilling. So that, like a movie like that, I think about Turistas probably once a year when I use it as a bad example. And that's probably the worst criticism I can give it, is that I just don't think about it.
Which is interesting because some folks would call movies like that you love in the Saw franchise torture porn.
Well, I don't think torture porn makes sense as a title, because I mean, so the Dr. Phibes movies are torture porn, right? I want to hear someone tell me they're not.
Well, to me, torture porn has always been like lingering on something that's uncomfortable.
So
more than just horror in general,
splatter and gore. And I think that's where the definition gets muddied, because some people would call a gory movie torture porn, and I don't see it that way.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre the beginning torture porn? Because it's guilty of everything you just said.
Well, I consider if somebody's tied in a chair like Final Destination.
That literally happens.
Somebody's tied in
Somebody's
let me finish. Somebody's tied in a chair, and somebody is like slowly pushing a needle towards their eye. That's torturous. And then you like obviously eventually you'll see the needle go into the eye, but the hanging there, feeling uncomfortable, is the torturous part.
Up until you actually see it, you could argue suspense. But yeah, no, I mean, grotesque, definitely torture porn. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad title either. There was a period where people were just trying to attach it to anything gory. I don't know. I don't have an issue with it, I guess. I just hate how some people were labeling some damn fine horror films as torture porn. And I'm just like, just gore alone, I don't know.
I mean, on a strictly like literal sense, is how are the Hellraiser films, the good ones, not torture porn? Because they're all about suffering.
Well, yeah, no, they're.
So I mean, I have problems with that definition more than most, simply because I think it gets used strictly as a pejorative. Like, we don't say a slasher film and immediately think of the worst slasher films, but we do that with torture porn, right? Oh, we just like watching people get messed up and disemboweled and torn apart. Well, okay, that criticism can be said, hey, slasher films are just about watching a bunch of teens die. And maybe it is, but we don't view it as a pejorative, right? But we do in the case of this one specific subgenre. And whether you're talking about Eyes Without a Face, Jess is with the film school, he knows what I'm talking about. Or no, he doesn't.
Eyes Without a Face, I don't. I know. I feel bad.
Or, you know, Marathon Man. How is Marathon Man not torture porn?
There's one. Yeah.
So I find it meaningless. I mean, is the story compelling?
Well, I mean, you say Marathon Man, but I mean, the torture scene is just one scene of the movie. You know, the is it safe scene?
It's probably the biggest part of the movie and what most people remember of the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's the problem with the term overall, is that it's just kind of, it is a derogatory thing that for the most part people just slap on gory horror movies.
I don't like the term. I really just think of like some Eli Roth movies in that like 5-year period, you know, that were popular with some people for some reason.
I even don't like hearing it for that though, because while they're not my favorites, I did find some enjoyment in Hostel 1 and even 2.
Yeah, more power to you, man.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't think I don't think that it's fair to take an entire swath at it. You know, is it possible to make a great teen slasher film that looks like Scream? Yeah, it's possible. I didn't see that film if it's out there, but it's possible.
Well, it was called Scream.
It was, if you haven't seen it.
It really wasn't. I'd say good, maybe. Great would be really pushing it. But I don't know. I think it's a little dangerous to just start like painting entire walls, you know?
I agree with that statement for sure. Kind of off. I mean, it's horror, but I don't want to get too deep into it, but were any of you fans of the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark?
The books?
The books.
Oh, yeah, the books were.
And then went to watch the movie and was super excited but disappointed in the movie because
the problem with that movie, and it goes back to what he said when he was marketing the movie. He said that this is a bullshit statement, by the way. He said an anthology is only as good as its weakest story, which is so far off. There are anthology movies I love just because one story stood out, but then he made an anthology. It's not a traditional one, but it's still very much an anthology movie that blew ass.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and I don't think they did the anthology part of it even right. They could have just damn near done each of the stories as they were in a scene. And I didn't get that. I got a jumbled mix of nothing I liked.
And they burned the best one at the beginning, in my opinion, which was the Scarecrow one.
Yeah.
And they kind of rushed through it. And then they ended on probably the most generic, weakest one.
I thought it was very boring. I liked the first story,
Yeah.
like you said, but the rest of it is very, very forgettable.
So would you
But-
say that's something that, I mean, obviously it had a great concept because it was a
Right.
great book, and they didn't really even go along with what they had there as a concept. You had an anthology, and I wouldn't call this movie an anthology movie even, really.
Well, it is. It's just not a traditional one. It's a series of stories. It's kind of like
Well, it
and I'm
should have
not
been a
comparing it.
traditional anthology movie.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm not comparing it to this quality wise at all, but it's like kind of like Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat is a anthology movie wrapped in one continuous story. And
But that's by connectors. There's a difference there. You could have.
yeah, there's
It's also very well done. So it's hard to.
And very well done. Yeah, thank you, Jay.
But this one is
That was
kind
a
of
good
like every page that starts the new story, a new person's. You know what I'm saying? It cuts
Yeah.
to this person's story now, and then it cuts back to the girl. She's like the rapper. It's an anthology movie, in my opinion, that's just kind of disguised as a.
Well, it's executed horribly.
Yeah,
hence
I
the
don't
whole
disagree
point
with
of
you
it.
there.
I don't have the same nostalgia for the books, so I mean, it wasn't what made me discover horror or anything like it was for many people. There's a good documentary on that whole phenomenon. The
Oh, really?
Just scary stories. Yeah, it goes over how censored they were.
I'd like to watch that.
But I thought the movie was fine. I didn't hate the movie. I thought it had its moments. But again, I'm coming at it as a guy with no nostalgia for the books, so I don't know.
Books are much
You know,
better. That's all I had to say. I was just curious.
I mean, on that note, I mean, I could say the same thing about Goosebumps, the movies, because with scary stories, those are short stories. Goosebumps, we got entire fucking books that we're turning into. We're taking basically all of the books and putting them all in one movie, which I thought was a really bad idea. They could have easily made a franchise out of that with the books. Like Slappy gets 3 movies right there, I mean, I've never really read the books. They were a little bit after my time, but I did watch the show and saw lots of great Canadian actors on it. But I don't know. I just felt like it was missed opportunity. I mean, day late, dollar short too. I mean, that should have been done 15 years ago.
Agreed with that for sure
I
too.
mean, they missed the spark. But those people that read those books are now probably in their 30s. So
Yeah, and that creates the problem of who do you make it for? Do you make it for the kids who would be age appropriate for the books who exist today, or do you make it for the nostalgia for the adults? And that's usually a really bad problem to have because you get some producers who are going to say, "Well, can't we make it for both?" And that's never going to work.
it's always a mistake. It never
That's
works.
the problem with Hollywood now is that's what they're doing with everything.
Let's pull this nostalgia love from the old fuckers and get the kids in there at the same time.
Well, that's why something like a Star Wars can't happen now and be successful, because who are you trying to satisfy? Are you going to make the stupid space adventure that would appeal to kids, or are you going to make something for the adults? If you make a gritty R-rated Star Wars movie, I got news for you: it's going to fail because people are not bringing their kids to it, and you need those kids' money. And I think that's kind of like the reason why people get upset when things like The Expendables came out, the third film, and it was PG-13 because it was the wrong container for the story they needed to tell. No 13-year-old has an idea who Jean-Claude Van Damme is. Period. Just get a life. Stop living in a fantasy world where wherever you love is still relevant. So yeah, I mean, also that's one of the reasons that I think the move to streaming for a lot of this stuff, the legacy properties, is potentially dangerous because it's got to appeal to an even wider category of people who are just even more casual in their love for it. So I think the days of like targeting a very small audience but reliable and making a reasonable profit, that was healthier than trying to hit everyone.
I'm hoping we're coming back to those days in the industry. I'm slightly noticing a little bit of it, but for the last 10 years, it's been basically, oh, we got to make $1 billion on this movie, and we got to spend 200 or 300 million to make it.
But prior, the audience for movies was like, what, 18 to 30, 18 to 25, some shit like that, you know, in there. Now it's like people in that age group, I think they're content with just watching TikTok videos and fucking YouTube. They don't need to watch movies anymore.
That makes me
I
sick.
don't think they care about narrative, you know, stories.
Let's stop catering to those little bastards. God damn it.
Well, I
They're
mean,
not going to watch it anyway, so yeah.
Yeah.
if Top Gun taught Hollywood anything this year, it's that make the film you're going to make for the audience you're going to make it for, and you'll discover it is wider because you made something that can stand on its own. And I'm a guy who I hate the original film. You know, I had no nostalgic for it. I actually, you know, I'm kind of allergic to 80s nostalgia. I shouldn't have come out of Top Gun saying, you know what, God damn it, that was actually a good summer action movie. But it happened. And it's because they actually decided to make a type of movie, and then they made that movie. So execution and concept were in place for it. Is it exactly my thing? No. Am I going to revisit it often? No. But you know what? I don't feel like I got ripped off by going to see an American movie, and that's usually how I feel.
I can't tell you how many times I heard younger people, you know, 30 and under, whatever the hell you want to call it, that had never seen Top Gun but saw this movie and loved it. You know, then went back and watched Top Gun and thought it was shit. You know, so
Yeah, they're right.
But I mean, yeah, that's why I didn't watch it, because I didn't like Top Gun. I didn't see it for the longest time. I saw it like it had been in theaters for 6 months. I'm like, well, shit, I guess I'll go see it for free with my Regal card. You know.
R.I.P. J and I's Regal.
What's the
Still charge me though. Still charge me, even though the theater was not operational. So I had to go through. Hey, check this out. Customer service is through Twitter with Regal. So,
Oh, wow.
good on you guys.
Well, a couple of different things got brought up that were not horror, so I'm going to bring this up. And the concept, obviously, of the book of the Maltese Falcon was good enough that they made it 3 times before they got it right. So there is something that could be said for concept alone being enough to at least want to keep trying.
Oh yeah, I have no issues like trying to remake a movie that's got a good idea, but just, you know, isn't a great movie. I think more of that, honestly. There's films like that, you know, Scalps I mentioned before. There's all kinds of films where it's like, I wish you'd take a second shot at that, because I do think there's something there for sure.
I mean, I would almost say, like, and talking about a movie like Scalps, you know, I have a big love of movies that are poorly executed. That's kind of where the humor comes from.
Fred Olen Ray.
Fred Olen Ray. I mean, you know, there's Dave Dakota. You could name a bunch of directors who do these kinds of things. And it's like sometimes a poor execution can be like entertaining in and of itself. And so, like, and also some movies that have a good concept and they're poorly executed and they're still entertaining as hell because of the, like, you can tell that there's earnesty. Like, the poor execution is because the actors aren't actors. They're just kind of dudes
Happy accidents.
trying to make a movie, even though they don't have acting chops. They maybe don't know how to put a movie together, but they want to make this movie that's cool. And so you can feel that.
So Clerks.
A little lower than that. Talking like, you know, a lot of the stuff Visual Vengeance is releasing now, like shot on video stuff, like Slaughter Day. That's a perfect example of dudes who just wanted to make like an Evil Dead knockoff, didn't know how to make a movie, weren't actors, and it's just a blast to watch because you can tell they're having fun. And even though, like, technically the execution is horrible and, like, not even there, that movie's a blast to watch, you know?
It's a lot better than the modern day meme movies, or kind of the new term, where it's just like, oh, well, if we get a goofy name, you know, Ouija Shark. Well, there you go. We don't even have to attempt to make decent special effects or anything because we've already sold it. It's Ouija Shark. There's the laugh.
We'll fix it in post.
Well, yeah,
That's
there's
why
not even an attempt to do that with these now, but yeah.
That's why I said like the earnesty is there.
Yeah.
And you get like, because those dudes, they
You were
didn't know if
trying
they
to
could make
make
money. They wanted to make a cool movie.
Well,
these
they
guys
want
are these guys are trying to cash in on a trend that like probably originally started with Asylum, maybe.
Well, most of those visual
like,
vengeance movies, they were trying to make the next great American horror movie. They failed miserably, but I think there was the effort there versus these, you know, there's, I mean, I hate to ever say there's no effort that goes into any movie, but something like a Ouija Shark.
Well, there's no earnesty in Ouija Shark. Those guys are making a title that they know will grab people's attention and not putting any effort in actually making the movie entertaining, in my opinion. Maybe if you like them and cool, but for me, it's like, it's got to have that earnesty. That's one of the big things that carries me through it, is seeing these guys who are there for like an actual reason to make something fun or cool or whatever. Thank you, Zombie.
Oh, well, rest in peace, Lisa Loring, I guess. Didn't see that.
Lisa Loring?
That is just awful news. I was literally just reading about her and watched a video on her career this morning.
She was young.
Well, I don't think she was super young, but she definitely wasn't super old either.
Yeah, no, she was nice lady. I met her like in 2005, maybe.
Oh, too bad.
My
son's just been getting into the old Addams Family too, because all these kids have the Wednesday dance craze. So I've been like bringing up some of the older Addams Family stuff too before we watch the Netflix series.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
I haven't. I got to get Netflix back too.
We'll talk about that one. We're off air.
Yes. When we get to watch it, I'm sure I'll get through it fast. Yeah.
She died?
Yeah, Cliff, her dancing with Lurch was funny. 64. Why? Yeah, so she's a little younger than I thought she was.
Massive stroke.
Oh, man.
It's too bad. It's on the wheel, but Julian Sands, unfortunately, not looking good.
I kind of wanted to talk about that with you guys, but I guess if we don't hit on it, we can do that later.
I was going to say we are on probably the final spin.
Yeah, let's give it a spin.
I know it's partly my show. I'm going to have to dip if we don't get to it. Go ahead.
No, never mind.
Well, the ones we don't get to, please, there will be another Wheel of Horror on the show, some episodes down the road. So bring them back if it's something you really want to talk about.
And hopefully a happy ending. I don't know, that I know a little bit about that area, and
it's been like 2 weeks, hasn't it? Over 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's been over 2 weeks now.
Like January 13th, something like that.
Yeah, but you know what? Hope maybe
you try to never give up hope until you know, but
at least it's not like super hot right now, so
yeah, hopefully it doesn't look good, but
that does not look good.
Yeah,
or what, he's 65, something like that.
Yeah, but there's all sorts of things that can happen. Yeah, I don't know, I don't want to assume what he did or didn't do, but you really have to plan.
Mountain lion or some shit out there,
Yeah, it's very possible.
Yeah, John Aston smoked more. He's still going in his 90s, I think, at this point.
Wow.
or
Yeah.
pretty close to 90 if he's not.
He's in his 90s. Yeah.
Well, all right.
Final spin.
Final spin, guys.
Show me that you love me.
Oh.
Oh,
Are we too hard on movies?
Are we too hard on?
Are we too hard?
I
Are we
mean,
too on movies?
Emmanuel and the Last Cannibals, you might be. I don't know. I don't think so. I think you have to be. People might spend their hard-earned money or time on movies. It depends.
Well,
on
the reason I mentioned it is because I think that we are, and I think that we specifically, one being the internet, just being overly negative and thinking it's kind of like, if you're negative, it means you're smart, and it's cool to be negative, and it gets more clicks if you're being negative. But also, with us specifically, like, we watch too many movies. That's like kind of an objective fact. We're not the normal person. So when we watch something, we go into it a little bit jaded and like,
Yeah.
like if I watch a movie and I just shit all over it, and then like I talk to like my sister or my mom or something like that, they're not going to catch all these like plot holes. And like Lorne, I don't know how Lorne talks to his family about movies with all the things that he picks out and bothers him. But you know, I mean, like, and one of the reasons that I brought it up is because of Firestarter, which comes up in piss streams a lot for some reason.
That deserves it, Chris.
No, because
Wait.
it's not
The new one.
It's not a piece of shit. It's just not. It's not particularly original. It's not anything
Well,
that's.
no,
gonna
yeah,
go
Drew
down
Barrymore had a better movie in the early
It's
80s
not-
with
It's
that.
not
Well,
going to
even
go
that's
down
not
in
a
history
classic,
as like a classic or anything, but to a normal moviegoer who just wants to like have a good time, it doesn't do anything offensive. It's not poorly acted. It's not
But
poorly paced.
you just hit it though, dude. If you're not having a good time, you should be allowed to give your opinion that you didn't have a good time and not have to worry about someone saying you're just being negative.
I do agree with that.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
If you're feeling like that people are too negative, maybe you're being too positive. I could throw it back on you. That's not fair and it's not right, and I wouldn't do
Well,
that.
been saying that. Yeah.
The truth is, like, we're all going to react to movies and they play a different role in all of our lives. Yeah, they're more important than us than normies. Cool. But you know what? I also don't care about football. A lot of you do. Cool. I am not going to say you guys care too much about football because it enriches your life. And you might love this team and hate that team. And to me, that might be silly, but it's how you view the world through the microcosm of a specific thing. In this case, football or movies. Whatever brings us joy, whatever level of discrimination we need to have when we watch something, I think that's all legit. I'm not going to tell anyone how to watch. You love a lot of shit I don't love. I love a lot of shit you don't love. Guess what? That's why I love the community, because we're different, not the same.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be people who watch films for different reasons. That's cool.
What was your point? Not necessarily just our community, but YouTube, maybe hosts in general. They kind of get a character to where they're basically hating on every film just because.
Oh yeah, they don't.
And not
they
just
don't
somebody
have-
who
they don't
passionately just
have,
didn't like
they
a
don't
movie.
have- yeah, it's just like this movie sucked. It's like an extreme. There's no like this movie was okay. It's like this movie is either a masterpiece or it's an irredeemable piece of garbage. There's no gray area in there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I do, but
And
I'm
like,
one of
that's
those that actually probably says more things in the gray area about movies than calling one a masterpiece or a piece of shit.
There are a lot of people who are very extreme on the.
It's this or this.
Yeah.
10 or 0.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot of minds are made up.
5 or
ahead of-
6.
a lot of minds are made up ahead of time, and that can go both ways, either positive or negative. I mean, I won't name its name, but there's one in particular that I think recently a lot of mental gymnastics to enjoy to convince yourself that it's a good movie. There's a lot of that. I mean, I try and find something nice to say about a movie if I can.
If there's something good to pull out of it, I'll say it too, but then go, yeah, but the rest of it sucked. Or like mentioned Ghost Ship earlier, great opening scene.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie sucks.
But now, like an opening, does one good opening kill, and then the rest of the movie is a, complete turd.
But you see, listen to the words we're using, and that's kind of the whole problem here. Is instead we use the shorthand, "Hey, that movie sucks," or "Hey, that movie's amazing." We don't say "I think" and then the rest of it because we assume we all get that part, right?
Yeah.
With that,
if I'm saying it, it's my opinion. It's not
right.
Straight back.
But to the person who has a very different opinion, they can decide to be offended by someone else's opinion by not hearing the unspoken, right? Oh,
yeah, but you're talking about what we should do, and you're not thinking about a person who like maybe comes into something and all they hear is like, "This movie sucks. This movie sucks."
You're talking casual fans that aren't as maybe invested in YouTube. You mean?
Well, yeah, or somebody who's going to see or going to watch a review to see if they should watch it, and everybody's just blanket shitting on it like it's, oh, this is just bad, and it's not really. There's not really a lot of reasoning behind it. It's just like, this is garbage.
You got to be careful there because it's not always reasonability that is why people like or don't like movies. You can be in a great mood or be with someone you really care about when you see a relatively bad film, have a great time, and that movie's going to have a good spot in you forever. And we shouldn't criticize that. How people react to movies is not wrong. Now there are films that are objectively not good films. You could say that the filmmaking itself is poor. And I think those conversations are legit, but really, I don't know. One of the reasons I don't review movies on my site ever is because I don't really care whether you guys like them or not. I like having discussions about the movies themselves, how they work. I love going under the hood and start pulling out the parts. I love that shit. But as far as whether you like it or not, listen, you guys can love Aliens. It's great. It's a horribly written film. That doesn't mean you shouldn't love it.
I totally agree with that. And
never miss an opportunity.
It'd be great in a lot of ways if we all loved the same film, but it would also suck at the same time having these discussions if we all loved every bit of the same things in these films.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, we come together to talk movies. Nothing would be worse than a prohibition on ever criticizing movies.
Oh yeah.
Because there's nothing to talk about then.
Exactly.
I don't think I think some people are too hard on movies, but you know what? That's their deal. That's how they view the world. Cool. I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong for being too hard on movies.
But that's what I saw the question as. I think some of them are falsely saying they don't really. It's become more of a shtick than actually even just their opinion.
Stop watching their videos. Then.
That is a big part of it. I think a lot of
good point there.
I know a lot of YouTubers that do that stuff.
Yeah.
Just stop. Just don't subscribe to it. Don't watch it. Yeah. Listen, if someone is going to rant for longer than the movie is, probably a pretty good hint that unless you like that sort of thing, you probably shouldn't be judging whether you're going to like the movie.
Based on that, man. I don't need that much negativity in my life, honestly. Like, I'll move on to something I actually like, and we can talk about that.
There are
if it's truly not a fun banter of I don't like that movie, you like that movie, then I don't want a part of it either. If it's really that negative.
There's also just going back to an earlier point, there's a lot of like 100,000 plus like giant YouTubers that a lot of times will cater their opinion to what they think will get over more with and I've seen that a lot. Those huge ones, not to name names, but like 100,000 plus.
That means whatever comes out of their mouth is complete bullshit.
And I sometimes I've actually seen a few. Again, these are nobody in this community, but like the big dogs. I'm sure you kind of know, where they actually will pull, and I've caught them doing it, like old reviews where they were a little critical, but then they got heat, and then of course they'll talk about it again. Like I said, 100K plus. There's more than a few that have done that, and if you pay close enough attention, which I wasn't a YouTube guy up until a few years ago. I've seen it. I've seen certain videos disappear and opinions kind of magically going where the wind was blowing. So, yeah, that's annoying.
I don't know about being too hard on movies themselves, but maybe taking their and this could go either way, whether they liked the movie or they hated the movie too far. As we know people that do reviews, and they'll get people in their comment section that'll just completely trash them, or even, I don't know if it's gone as far as threatening them, but maybe that might be more of a problem than just whether somebody doesn't like a movie.
Actually have an actual real animosity towards the person with the opinion.
Yeah.
For having an opinion,
Yeah, there's a lot of that. You probably all have already seen it, but you'll see it more and more. I notice, like, as your sub count goes up slowly over time, you'll have those moments where somebody gets pissy on a video.
So I guess having those hot takes equates to views and subs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the internet, though. That's like, if you're going to be on the internet, you have to understand that somebody's going to tell you to go die in a fire eventually, And really, it's just funny. Don't take it seriously. And
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to dying in a fire, so that's not an insult that they think it is.
You've got your
Hansel and Gretel is kind of hot.
I mean, we were talking about that in the Discord earlier, the Flesh Wounds Discord, because that director that's kind of trashing on Terrifier a little bit.
Ted Gagan,
but he erased the conversation and then tweeted like, I erased this because I stated an opinion on a movie and somebody told me to die or kill myself. And it's like, are you brand new to the internet, dude? Like,
Twitter frowns on that too.
I'm surprised that hasn't happened to you a couple times at this point.
I don't know him personally, but he's been on like I think I might have been MySpace friends with the guy. Yeah, I'm sure he's gotten that before. It is weird.
He acted like it was the first time.
You talk shit on Art the Clown, I will burn your fucking house down. But some of them are funny. I mean, but then you got your Cliff Boofs that has to make fun of the most beautiful woman to ever walk the earth. And
true.
You just have to roll with that.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw the big T question for us all here. I've been trying to sizzle on this. For the chat panel, what is the one movie that you will die on its hill defending for the rest of your life?
I've got mine.
That might not be considered a fan favorite.
Texas
20
Chainsaw
years
Massacre,
ago.
New Generation or Next Generation.
Oh, I'm right there with you, Chris. That'll be mine too.
I can support that.
It's so underrated is an understatement. People act like that movie is garbage, and it's so clever and self-aware and ahead of its time and entertaining. It is, and it's a great movie, and
it's better than most that came after it.
So I think, it's a great movie.
It's objectively a great movie.
That's going on the 4K box right there.
I've done the math.
I think.
I've tried.
Well, I'm like that with part 3. Sorry.
Yeah.
Throw that in there.
That's more offensive to me.
I figured. We've had this discussion, I think.
I like the ballsiness of New Generation, even if I don't love the film. But 3 is just corporate trash.
But it's
leather is trends.
I think
time. Come on.
It's MTV trash though, which is good trash.
It's a
Comma, I
funny
think.
movie to me. I love it. Renee Zellweger up in there.
No, the fourth is better than the third. I agree. Texas
I don't know
Chainsaw
if I would
Massacre. Let's just face
die on
reality.
a
It shouldn't
hill
have had
for
any
it.
sequels.
Yeah, that's true.
But the Nightmare remake is, I think, a lot better than people like to give it credit
Oh
for. So.
no, it's
No.
not.
Okay, we're-
No.
It's really
the show is
not.
over.
When you have to
Oh,
pick
done.
a kind of cancer,
Thank you.
You want ass cancer or ball cancer?
Gosh.
there's positives
have
and
to have
negatives
one.
to this.
I'm not saying it's better than the original. I'm not saying that it's a great movie or anything.
You're
I'm just
fired,
saying,
Kory.
I think
We're
this-
done.
Well,
Again?
Kory, you want to know what? There's some great ideas that it seems to want to get into the film, but never gets into the film. That's the thing that's frustrating about that movie is that everything that it seems to want to do, it doesn't do, and it does all the wrong things instead. It's a frustrating film more than anything else.
And anything it does was done better in their original. That was
Absolutely, but that's
Yeah.
usually the truth of remakes, right? So it's just whatever. I mean, the sad fact is, like, something like Nightmare on Elm Street doesn't have enough meat to tear into to do like a Fly treatment or an Invasion of the Body Snatchers, whereas you make films that legitimately can be compared to the originals and maybe even win that battle. I don't think Nightmare on Elm Street really has that much there to be better than the original. You know? So just make a dumb sequel because you're probably better off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
I
I
agree.
have my opinion on the whole Michael Bay thing. I hate all of those, and it's because they all are just for the sake of money. He knew that he could get a lifetime royalty check with no marketing. He could hire his drinking buddies to direct them, and
His MTV
It's
music
just
video directors.
it's the least pure thing that's ever happened in movies.
So you mean
Yeah.
all of Platinum Dunes remakes?
Platinum Dunes, yeah. And then, other companies followed suit after that showed to be successful. But yeah, Platinum Dunes,
See,
it's the worst thing that happened to horror, in my opinion.
Hills Have Eyes. I've come around on the Texas Chainsaw remake. Still don't like it, but I appreciate it for what it is. But Halloween is dog shit. Nightmare, dude, Kory, that Nightmare remake is dog shit, man. I'm sorry.
You know what?
I
else
tried
in
to watch it
Platinum Dunes?
again. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to step on you, man.
No, go ahead.
You know that the Platinum Dunes film that no one talks about, that's every bit as bad as all the rest? Amityville Horror.
I just don't remember.
Oh
it
my
very
god,
well.
that is lame.
Yeah.
It's got Ryan
Catch him and
Reynolds
kill him.
It's bad.
out
I still
chopping
think
wood
that's
in
better than the
backyard with no
Nightmare
shirt
remake
on.
and a couple.
I don't know. Have you watched it recently? I saw it like 4 years ago for the
It's
second
been some
time.
years,
It's
but
worse than you remember. I promise.
Hey,
Well, there's
Ryan
no love
Reynolds
in those
abs.
movies. There's no love at all in those
Hello.
movies. They're just like those Platinum Dunes took movies that like were unique, and they stripped all the uniqueness from them, made them as generic and palatable as they could, and it's just it's so frustrating to me. I hate that whole era.
I'm gonna just say though, I think I mean it's a lot more movies at this point, but Blumhouse is worse. I mean,
I would agree with that.
their batting average, I mean, my God, it's either completely forgettable. The list of truly good movies, which there are some, is very small when you look at the amount of movies they put out.
I mean, they're batting a better average than Platinum Dunes, though.
Okay, I think
I don't think so.
In my opinion.
In my
There you
opinion.
go, Lauren.
There we go.
And Ben's
I
right.
think I know the
Gingerbread-
answer to this.
Gingerbread Man
but
2 is a masterpiece.
I love Passion of the Crust, Ben. That's
Lauren, were you
my
agreeing
friend
with
Johnny
Dan, or were
Oberg's
you
leading
agreeing
that
with Ben?
movie.
I can't.
I
can't
agree
hear.
with Ben.
No, I was asking Lauren.
Oh, sorry.
About what?
Passion
Because
of the
you said
Christ.
I agree. As that comment got, or right after.
Oh,
that
I've never
comment got brought up.
seen Ginger Dead Man 2.
You should watch it, bro. It's good.
It is.
That might surprise you, and you might like
I
it.
don't like
could-
horror comedies most of the time. So what do you think? What's the
Fancy.
chances? The over under on
Yeah.
it.
Lauren,
Maybe.
if
Maybe not
nothing
Evil
else,
Bong for you, but Ginger Dead Man, yeah.
Let's tell him yes anyway, so he'll watch.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
So
watch it
he's
anyway.
wasting.
I
He's
think
gonna be mad at us.
I think I pretty much have a beat on where the conversation is going, and I can make
Yeah.
an independent decision.
A cookie does get crucified, though. That's all I'm going to say. So, thumbs up for that.
I think
I like that,
if
Jay.
nothing else, the titles for the sequels are probably the most clever I've ever seen. Like Dan said, Passion of the Crust for the second one, Saturday Night Cleaver for the third one.
Mhm.
Yeah,
The third one is-
I
third one
loses
is
me
cool,
at that point.
Shit, are they hiring? I can do that.
Really. Hey guys, if you really are this hard up for stories, get with me.
There you go.
I'll write a fucking killer cookie film. That's fine.
Do it, bro. We need more killer cookies.
Short. Make it scary. See if you can do it. That'd be an interesting test.
That's what I've
Scary.
always said. Like if like one of these fucking like ridiculous companies handed me a property and like let me see if I could do something actually like subversive and scary with it, that'd be cool. Because I think you can make anything scary as long as you wrap it up properly.
A good idea for an anthology. I mean, because we've had a Chud anthology, we've had an H.G. Lewis anthology. Somebody trying to do original full moon themed stories. Maybe even just in the vein. You maybe not even have to use the characters, just the full moon.
Well, I think Band would get down with that. I think you could get him on board as long as he made the money.
Yeah. I don't know. That's kind of a cool concept.
Jim
So
Haggerty, baby.
Kory mentions Jim Haggerty, and I'm just going to say this. Maybe one of the worst filmmakers ever, but the slasher was entertaining, and we had a good time.
I think his last name is actually pronounced Haggerty.
No, I'm gonna just say Haggerty because he's got to. You gotta do something better than I Dream of Dracula for me to pronounce.
He did. It was called The Slasher.
Yeah,
A Jim Haggerty film.
yeah, and I had fun.
Grandma,
with the
get out of my
slasher.
room.
But I'm not gonna like the guy that made I Dream for Dracula. I'm not gonna like listen to. Actually, it is Haggerty. Like no, it's Haggerty until you got to up the game a little bit.
Hey, we don't know. We haven't seen his recent catalog. He's still making movies, bro.
It's bizarre that I'm friends with him on Facebook. I don't think I've ever talked to him, but somehow that happened.
Jess, are you coming back?
I was just about ready to type. I do have to dip. So
It's been 3 hours since he's had a Twinkie. He's gonna die if we don't let him.
blood sugar is low.
All right. Well, you
Nice, Jay.
about ready to end this then?
I think so. If everybody's cool with that,
Well, that's
Kill it.
cool.
it's been
Kill
great.
it.
I mean, we could talk about these topics for days, really.
Yeah, it's a good concept. I'm looking forward to the next one. Yes,
This
you just
guy.
gotta get Firuza Balk in the corner to roll the wheel now.
Well,
Just
like I
for
said, that would be great if we could do something. We're not that fancy here at Cable Channel 11, though.
Keeping it real over here.
No budget over here.
But be sure and bring back the topics that didn't get discussed. That's kind of the whole risk of the wheel, though. We're not going to get to everything, and somebody might have gotten 2 topics, somebody might have gotten none tonight.
That
So,
works. That works.
but yeah, you guys as always, thanks for coming on. And Chris, I'm glad you finally got to join the group here on the Rumble.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I feel important now. I made it.
And you were important before this show. Let me tell you, in this community.
It's debatable.
And some the fine, great people in the chat tonight, too. So thank you all.
Thank you guys for coming.
Cliff, Jess. If I start listing y'all, I'm going to miss you. I think we've said everybody's name, though, that's joined us.
I didn't say I had a steak. He was on here earlier, so hi steak.
Steak.
Joe Bob Tar Heel. Fuck you, steak sauce.
Gee, okay.
Wow. That went a place.
We'll see you next time on the Rumble, brother.
Anybody got anything they want to plug real quick?
Yes, let's go around.
Flesh Wound Features here on YouTube. We talk about all kinds of stuff. And we've got new channels launching soon. And horror, wrestling, adult film lately. Which the After Dark stuff, thank you again. It's been doing fantastic. And yeah, Flesh Wound Features. Y'all know where to find us.
Links will be down in the chat within the next couple hours. So follow to their channels and other things. They'll all be down there in the description. Lorne, I had it on the wheel, but we did not get to it. But no reason not to plug it. Divide by Zero, his new book.
Available everywhere that fine books and less than fine books are sold in ebook, paperback, and hardcover. Appreciate all the support I've received from you guys so far, and wow.
Oh,
Ooh.
I missed one too.
There was a lot of Dan happening right there.
There
What
was.
a damn.
Hardcover coming soon. I've ordered it. It just hasn't arrived yet. But
Yeah, that's
paperback, hardcover.
And I will have the links for the book
Nice.
as well in our description
nice.
for this episode too. So
Yeah, and of course the channels Visit by Voices 1 on YouTube and at Lorne Dixon on the Twitter.
Sweet.
Appreciate everything.
hell yeah, brother. Go buy that book, guys. And Mr. Chris, Slasher Home Video, what's going on over there?
Slasher Home Video. I'm struggling to make videos right now, so they're coming slower. Like I feel like crap because I kind of skipped last week, but I'm trying. I've got reviews coming. I've got a couple of streams planned. One with Jay that's going to be a lot of fun if I can ever get motivated to do it. But yeah, I'll do some stuff sometime. I promise.
Check me out
And of
everywhere. Jay the Stingray on all the social media things. And if you're into gaming, we're trying to get a group together to play GoldenEye on the Switch.
Oh.
So I'm Jay the Stingray 2 on there, as well as PS and Xbox. So feel free to add me on there. And hopefully I'll have some stuff coming on the channel. I don't know.
Sweet.
And just to add back on Lauren's book, Jessica, the hardcover is absolutely fucking beautiful. That's cool to hear. I was muted my whole speech there, but you got the idea.
Buy hardcover now.
Buy the hard. All right, Kory, do you want to take us out?
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming on. We might do a open bar again at some point. You never know. Keep a lookout for that. Horror Rumble next month. We're doing Candyman, aren't we?
The Candyman franchise, I think,
Yes.
for February. So
Nice.
So we'll
That'll
be
be
doing that
happening.
at some point next month. We will be sure to let everybody know.
yeah, I don't think there'll be a Cable Channel 11 Valentine's Day special or anything, but
Yeah.
stay tuned. There's more shows coming on the channel.
Sorry to everybody
Special.
who misses my basement. It feels like it's -2 here, so I decided I was going to sit upstairs tonight.
No more torture basement.
Kiss this
Yeah.
bitch goodbye.
Yep. Next month we will be. Well, I will be coming to you guys from my new house, so looking forward to that.
Sweet.
I guess until next time. See everybody later.